See if I could just talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Should I move to
Yeah. All right. Assalamu guys. We have our brother Gabriel. It's part 2 with him. Part 1 we did not show his face. So right now he's comfortable. So say hi.
Hi.
And he's a big fan of
Mohammad Hijab.
Yes, you can say hi to him too. Hopefully.
Oh, hi.
Okay. So yeah. So basically, as I was saying, like we can just shut this down anytime you want.
Okay.
Right. What's most important is for you. Don't look at there. Just look at me.
Okay.
For you to be like comfortable, right? And let's have a dialogue that can be beneficial for other people.
Okay.
Right. But if this thing bothers you,
it's okay. As long as I'm in the frame.
You're in the frame. You're looking great.
You too as well.
Okay. So I think it's been what, like 3 weeks now, 4 weeks?
4 weeks right now.
So our first dialogue, by the way, is up. I will put a link to the part 1 of the conversation in which we didn't see show your face.
Yeah.
So today you're seeing showing the face. That's good. Yeah. So basically we talked about a few things, and then I sent you some information to take a look at.
Yeah.
So share with us what do you think about those things? What kind of questions you've got now, and we'll have a good discussion, inshallah.
Okay. So the first thing I need to address is I've also been busy on the side as well, which is one of the reasons why I'm just trying to clear my head. The reason why I first came with my friend was so I could clear my mind. Like that day I was not in my best, headspace.
So I would actually take a moment here and mention something very important. So I didn't know Gabriel until 4 weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. One of the young brothers, Rayyan from the masjid, he introduced me to him. So he had conversations with him, I think, for years now.
Yeah, I've known him for 4 years.
4 years, right? And then he brought him to the masjid. So that's very important, guys, because you all have a lot of people in your network that I don't know of, that your masjid doesn't know of, that the Dawah team or the team who's focused on interfaith in your masjid do not know of. So it's important that you bring them to the masjid and you connect us to them, right? So I think that's a very important thing that we can learn from this as well.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. So yeah, pretty much Rayyan, he that was actually our first time meeting, right?
Yes.
So that was our first time meeting, and pretty much Rayyan just brought me here. He made me feel very welcome, and honestly, it's because I just wanted to get back into knowledge, because I am out of high school now. Yeah, so nice. I'm just trying to clear my head while also having knowledge as a part of my experience right now. So right now, I just felt a little bit lost, right? So I know Rayyan went to Kuwait, so I was.
You want to go there next?
Huh? I mean, it's a beautiful place. He sent me a lot of pictures. He went to the Grand Mosque. He went downtown, and he's showing me he's eating all the foods that he's ever wanted, because now it's a lot. And then it's like I'm glad that he's having a really good time,
right.
And it's also enticing for me to see him, also grounding his base, right? It's grounding your base where it's this is my belief, this is my faith, this is where it stems from, and if it makes me feel happy, then you're just making it a experience where it's justified, right? If your belief in faith is justified, then I don't think anyone can ever say that it's not justified. So yeah, that's what I've been trying to do so far. I have been trying to, I've been watching Mohammed Hijab's videos. So far, I tried to read Muhammad, the Prophet of our time, right? I tried to. I think I got up to page 16 right? So far, it's just been mainly watching videos here and there, because right now I am trying to find different jobs, having life stuff happen. So yeah, so far, right now, it's me just asking questions before I even read anything. Which is kind of...
No, it's just good.
Do you think that's good?
Yeah, because then you can navigate your path, right? Because there's so much to read. I mean, have I read everything? No, right? That's the thing. I mean, learning never stops.
That's true.
Right? So I think what we were trying to discuss is that, because you have some key questions, right? So basically, we established, and then the way you are brought up, you have always worshipped one God. You've never worshipped Jesus, right? So that I think the key thing is basically is Muhammad the messenger of God, peace be upon him. That's essentially the key thing, because if Quran is the book of God, that means that you need to and just a bit, because we discussed about how you worship in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. And those are some of the things that you've learned culturally.
Yeah.
Right. Those are not something that you can attribute back to Jesus.
That's
right.
True.
That Jesus did not say, hey, you know what? When you wake up in the morning, Gabriel, this is how you should worship God.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your own ritual, which is good in a sense that you're trying to do something and you connect with God.
Yeah.
Right. But if Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, is a messenger of God, and you want to worship God, then you want to follow that path.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the key question. Right. So once that's established and you're reasonably confident about it, then you'll continue learning. I mean, as we said, Ryan has been born as a Muslim, right?
Yeah.
And like he's not what, like 18, 19, 17, something like that.
He's 17, going to turn 18
right.
soon.
So he is now going and spending like 4 months or 6 months full-time studies, so he can learn the Arabic language and be able to access the knowledge in the language that was revealed. Right. So learning will never stop. But I think the way I would probably see it like is at some point you'll become confident about that this is the way from God. It's not my thing. It's not the masjid thing. And once you become confident about it, then you start practicing and learning. Right? And that keeps going. And maybe you start preaching and teaching too.
Exactly.
So that's why, coming back to your point about like questions are good.
Yeah.
Right. So because you think, okay, you know what? So I'm thinking, this makes sense, but I'm a bit hesitant about this, or what do you say about this, or what does Islam say about this? So
and what I was scared the most about is that I would be taking the answer and then backtracking on doing the work. Now, it's not that it's a bad thing per se, but it gives you a little bias. It gives you a bias on how you're gonna look at it. Since you already know the answer, it gives you a little bias on what to nitpick. If it might sway your mind on what you might see. You see everything in context, but your mind still sways because you've already seen the answer. So you might also skim over, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if it does, but
I know I'm trying to understand. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that concern. But I don't know, like, can you give me an example of? Or let's say, okay, let's pick a question that you have. Mm-hmm. And then we can see how that fits into the argument that you said.
Yeah. So like I remember, like I think I was like texting you, right? And I was talking about, one of my friends. She's my coworker, right? I work at a grocery store, and we went shopping one day. She was just my friend, and we just went shopping one day. We were helping her grocery shop, me and her, and then we went to like a real Canadian superstore, and then she picked up these muffins. I said are these halal? Are these halal? Like, can you eat this? Oh, it says COR. It says core. Right. Okay. So apparently she's like, you can eat Jewish food. Like you can eat Jewish food, or like things that are based off like Christianity and Jewish food, right? And I said, really? Like, so that's when I texted you that back that day and said, is that allowed? Yeah. So I was very, and when you told me that, yeah, it is allowed, I was like, really now? So I was like, well, if you said it was permissible, right? But permissible is still permissible. It's still allowed, right? So it's, if a gate's open, it just means you can, and it's permissible. You can still go in there and kill all the goats, right? It's permissible, right? So even though you don't have to, it's permissible. It doesn't mean you have to. It doesn't mean that you don't have to. It doesn't mean any of that. But if it's permissible, it's permissible, right? Yeah. So I was like, well, let's say, for example, the part where you said the Quran is preserved, right? If the Quran's preserved, and do you believe the Bible's preserved?
No, it's not.
No. Yeah. So why would the Quran say that you can eat foods of the other holy books if they are not preserved themselves?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Right. So I want, before I answer that question, right? Because I'm saying that what you were saying, I don't think it's a risk, right? Because you were saying that you want to find the answer with studies as opposed to asking. Because I don't think that will make you biased, right? So a majority of the Muslims, right, that's what they do. They come and they ask someone, that they trust, of their knowledge, can I go and eat this, or can I go and do this, right? So that's a valid approach. Yeah. But what happens is that when you actually start learning, then you start seeing, okay, this is the evidence, and then you start having a bigger picture of how that conclusion was made. So for example, you can go to a doctor and you can say, hey, you know what? According to your tradition of your field of study and your experience, is this a good thing for me to do? Like, can I have like 10 cups of coffee a day? Yeah. Right. And then, so that's one thing, right? And then later on, you can say, okay, how is he driving that answer, right? What are the details to it? What are the research behind it? So on and so forth.
Your own research, you'd say?
No, I mean, when you start learning, that's in medicine.
Okay.
Right. So then, you say, okay, you know what, look, there are certain elements like, you're talking about blood pressure, you're talking about, sleep hormones, you're talking about these different things, and how does coffee interfere with that, right?
Okay.
And how much research do we have? Then you can start asking those questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, like from a practical perspective, it's totally fine for you to go and ask the doctor about the situation, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So what I'm trying to say is, look, so your question is that if the previous scriptures are not preserved, right?
Yeah.
How is Quran confirming to some of those things?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So what I'm trying to say is that when we say it's not preserved, I'm not saying that every practice of Jew and Christian is against the God.
That's true.
Right? So there's certain things that are still intact.
Okay.
Right? So, for example, we know that Jewish people, they would not eat pork, for example.
Yeah.
Right? And they have other restrictions. Okay? So essentially, when I buy a muffin, for example, and I see, COR or CKR, what have you, a symbol there, what this is telling me is that it's verified by this entity that it does not have meat in it, or meat products in it, or pork in it, or any sort of meat stuff in it, right? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why it is also fulfilling the conditions of Quran, the conditions of Islam. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I can eat it, right?
So,
but I mean, so just to, and then so there's two different angles. So likewise, people who are Hindu, right? They also use sometimes a symbol for wheat, vegan.
Okay.
Right? So if I see a product saying vegan or V or a green symbol, I can still eat it. Right? It's not because the scriptures has anything to do with anything. It's just that is meeting my standard. So it kind of makes it easier for me. So one option would be for me to call the company and say, hey, you know what? Is this like, do you guys use any animal ingredients? Or, okay, these guys have already verified that. I trust them. Boom, I can eat that, for example.
Okay. So for example, do you think if something's not preserved, it can get worse as time goes on? Do you think, like, if, for example, if you have a piece of cheese in the fridge, do you think it can get worse from that point on if it's already spoiled?
In general, yes.
In general, yes, right?
Yeah.
So if the Quran's preserved and the Bible and, let's say, the Jewish holy book, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Right, as well. So if those get worse and the Quran still says you can still eat from those other holy books, do you think the way how they might pray and the way how they might kill like the animals or kill, do you, if that the form on how it gets killed of those holy books, but the Quran's still saying, oh yes, that's still permissible, do you think that's
yes, good.
Yeah.
So now that's a matter of scholarly debate. Yeah. Already, as I was saying.
Okay.
Right? So right now in Canada, for example, there are some scholars, they say, you know what, you can go and you can eat chicken from McDonald's.
Okay.
Right? And they have a valid point, right? They're saying, look, in general, it's a Christian country, and it's their meat, so you're okay to eat it. They have a point. There are other scholars who say, no, you should not eat that, right? Because, although it's a Christian country, the person who is, preparing the chicken and whatnot, or killing the chicken, is not following the original Christian laws, right? And, nobody really worships, any religion here. Most people are atheists, whatever. So they also have an argument, right? So it's already a matter of debate. Okay. So that's something to do, and that would happen, right? Because now you're going into a debatable area.
Okay.
So in that situation, what you do is now it becomes up to you, right? So you follow a scholar that you trust, because the goal is what? Like, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like nitpicking here. Your goal is to worship Allah.
That's
right. So you go to a scholar who's like spent like 10, 20, 30 years of studying, and you trust that he's a legit guy, he knows his stuff, he's God-fearing, and you ask him, what does Allah want me to do? Do you think I can eat McDonald's?
Yeah.
Right? And he may say something, and then you can follow him. That's it. If you wanted to go to the next level, you can start understanding why is he saying, you can eat it? Why is the other scholar saying you cannot eat it? Right? And then you can make your own choice.
Yeah.
Right? If you have that sort of capacity and capability.
Okay.
And another option is for you to say, you know what, I just want to take a safer route.
Okay.
Right? Because if I don't eat McDonald's, no big deal. I'm just gonna go and eat something that's, more closer, more pure. Right? Why should I not eat that? But in that situation, you cannot go to, let's say if Ryan eats McDonald's, you can't go and tell him, oh, you can't eat McDonald's, it's haram, right? Because he's also following a scholar. He's not following his desires.
That's true.
Right? Because he thinks that it's permissible.
Okay.
Right?
So,
and those type of variations exist, and they do not like nullify your religion or anything.
Okay.
Because your intention is to worship Allah and is to follow the command of God.
Okay.
And you're trying to do your best to reach that command.
Okay. So let's say, for example, I would never do this, but let's take, for example, let's say I was gonna feed one of my friends who's Muslim, a burger, right? And I tricked them into thinking that it's halal, but then after they finish eating it, then and I tell them, oh yeah, would they be in fault? No, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, because in the principle, right? Anything that is beyond your control.
That's true.
You're not, right? Same thing, right? I mean, actually, one of my friend was telling me that, one day he actually accidentally drank some alcohol.
Okay.
Right? And it was similar situation like what you described.
Yeah.
Now, he's not blameworthy for that per se, but he's blameworthy a bit because he's hanging out with the wrong guys.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, first of all, why are you going to a bar? Right?
Yeah.
Why are you hanging out with people who go and drink? Right? So you can be blameworthy because, look, now you're exposing yourself to some danger, right?
Yeah.
So that's from that angle, right? Because you're hanging out with people who are not trustworthy, right? Who do not have your best interest in mind. But no, if it's a genuine mistake, it happened, obviously.
Okay. Now there's another question we're just gonna go into a different topic now. If Jesus is not the Son of God, who was Jesus in the Quran, and why did the Bible interpret him to be the Son of God?
Good. Great
so was there like a sudden turn? Yeah.
Good. So Jesus, according to Islam, is a man.
Okay.
According to English language is what? Right? Is a man, but he is a messenger of God. Right?
Okay.
So he speaks on behalf of God. He teaches on behalf of God. He does not teach on his own self.
Okay.
Right? So he's a man, according to us, but he's a messenger of God. Right? So he teaches what God teaches him.
Okay.
He performs a miracle in the name of God to show people his validity, his truth. Okay. He has not died yet.
Okay.
So his life has paused. His worldly life has paused.
Okay.
He does not have any interference in this worldly life.
Okay. So when you mean by paused, what happened?
Well, so God just took him away.
Okay.
Right?
And has he ever done that with any other?
No.
So that's the difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one difference.
That's one difference.
So he's going to come back.
Okay.
He's going to pray the same prayer that we prayed.
Okay.
He's going to lead the Muslims.
Okay.
He will establish the same law that we have, except a few things will be changed.
Okay.
Okay. But mostly it's going to be the same law.
Okay.
Okay. And Muslims will follow him as their leader. Not as a new messenger, because he's not going to be changing the religion in that sense. They'll be following him as their leader.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you think the Bible interprets him to be the Son?
What I would say is that the Bible does not interpret him to be the Son. Okay. Right? But the human beings who wrote the Bible, they interpreted it and then they wrote it. Okay. Right? So that's another thing.
Okay, so
important.
If the Bible is not preserved, then the humans who did write it, that is the Bible. Exactly. So
the original Bible, the original message of Jesus was not that I'm the Son of God. He kept calling people worship God. Yeah. Right? And then there are many, even today, there are many verses. So what I'm saying is, even if you take the text of today's Bible, we can have a debate if he's the Son of God or not. Okay. That's true. So that's another point, right? I mean, because it's open to interpretation. Okay. Right? So like I said, look, this son does not mean son in a biological sense, because it also uses the word son for other people and whatnot. So we can get into that sort of details. Right? Okay. But that was, again, if we go into that sort of historical thing, which is not an area of expertise of mine, but I know people who do go into that sort of level of details, we can have that sort of chat and conversation about, basically open this history and challenge and all that sort of stuff. That's possible, right? Okay. But what I'm saying is, there's two things. One is that why we came to why the world happened the way it is. Okay. Right? But then there's a second question, that is Jesus Son of God or not? Then your heart already has the answer for that question. Okay. Right? And then if you want to think about it, look, Adam, the first man, he was created without father and mother. And God says this example in Quran. That the example of Jesus in the sight of God is like the example of Adam. Yeah. He was created without a regular cause, right? So you and I have regular causes, right?
Yes.
Mother and father. But Adam was created with an exception. His wife was created with an exception, right? And Jesus was created with an exception.
Okay.
So not a big deal for God.
Okay. And that's this morning I was actually watching one of Mohammad Hijab's videos, and he was pretty much talking about, can God be good if it wasn't for the Trinity? For example, there was a example saying that, let's say you took Mother Teresa and you locked her in a box. Do you think she would still be good?
Like from her life?
Like from her life, do you think she would still be good? Now, let's say, out of context, that might sound, of course, but I mean, let's say from when she didn't know anything, it was just her as a baby, and until she was 18 years old, then she was free of the box. So she doesn't know anybody. She doesn't know what good even looks like. She doesn't know what bad looks like. So when she sees the first person on the street, she doesn't know what good or bad is. So I was saying, does God know what good is if there wasn't for the Trinity? For example, it was saying that if the Holy Spirit and Jesus, if they are different, if they're different in persons, for example, if they were different in persons, do you think that they come to a conclusion all the time, or do you think it's a discussion? If you were a Christian, if you were just to put your I know that it's different, but like, for example,
what's going? Okay, so what's
let's split it up. So, for example, let's say God, before he created anything, right?
Yeah.
It was just him.
Okay.
So, do you think he created mankind in the way how he saw good, or how good is supposed to be? If that makes sense.
What is good? Good is justice, right?
Justice. But the thing about justice, it's something that we see as humans. So
there's a concept of justice in the sight of God. He's the most just.
Yes.
God is the most just. He's the most merciful.
Okay.
Right. So any situation you can come up with, God would tell you that this is justice in that situation. Right?
Okay.
And this is mercy in that situation.
Okay.
So he has that answer.
Okay.
Right. And he has given us principles to be able to determine that in our situations. That's okay. Now let's go to the philosophical question.
Okay, so the one I said before, like
if you want an answer for that, yeah.
Yes. So I was saying, obviously, I believe God knows everything.
Yes.
But if we really are trying to knock everything down, and if we really want to look at God, and as a father, if you were my father, for example, I want you to teach me everything that to expect from the world, what to expect. What to learn at a young age, so I will be prepared, right? So do you think it's okay for, let's say if God created humans in the way how he sees just, obviously he's just, but do you think the way how he created just was defined per se? Because a lot of people who are Christians, right, they believe that if God, there's no such thing as, if God was God and he was just by himself, it was just one God, there would be no, let's say, difference. There would be no difference in opinions. There would be no, well, I know God's just, but there would be no one to oppose him. There would be no one to say, well, here's a different opinion. Here's how just should look like. Obviously, God's just. He's eternal, of course, but there would be no one to oppose him on what just is, right? So, do you think? What do you think I should expect from, for example, to say, if what I think is good, like, because you remember how a couple weeks ago I said, well, because of not my belief, but because of how open I am so far in my life, it's not because I'm a Christian that I said, you know what, let me go to this mosque and try to debate you. I was just trying to be open so you can see from the inside out.
Yeah.
So I was really saying, well, is what I'm doing right now good? Should I go to church right now instead of coming to the mosque? You know, and that's what I was debating to myself.
Right.
So I was like, the real question is what I'm doing right? Is what I'm doing good? Should I be looking more into what my belief system is, what I've been doing my entire life? Should I be focusing on that and then trying to go into this, or should I just try doing like learning more about Islam and then trying to learn that from the inside out, and then going back to it was really messed up, and that's why I said like it was very complicated for me because it could easily get mixed up between both where it's just
okay. So think about it. Okay, so that's it. So right now there's a child, the man, right? He happened to be born into a family. Hypothetically speaking, they were doing wrong. They had a good intention to worship God, but they're doing wrong.
Okay.
They're following the wrong way to worship God. Okay. Now, for that child, for that man, how will God offer him an opportunity? Right? So in your situation, you were exposed to, let's say, a friend who has a different way of belief.
Yeah.
Right? So God exposed you to that path.
Okay.
Right? So it came your way. For some other people, they start seeing the look, this does not make sense to me.
Yeah.
Right? There's something wrong about it.
Okay.
Right? I have to search the truth. Right? And then in that situation, you are basically searching for truth.
Yeah.
Right? Because your confidence level when you were at 7, let's say when you were 7 years old, you had probably higher confidence that this is the way that God wants you to live.
Okay.
Right? As you studied more things and you were exposed to more things, your confidence level in the way that you were culturally brought up has reduced.
Okay.
Right? And you're searching for the way of God.
Yeah.
So that's the right thing to do.
Okay.
Right?
So
and I did that too.
You did that as well, right?
Right. When I was in university and I did that, I spoke to a lot of people because there were some uncertain, like even like among Muslims, there are variations, right? There are different sects.
Yeah.
Right. And there are different people who do different things. Right. And I was brought up among 2 different sects of Muslim, if you want to call them sects, or 2 different variations.
Okay.
Right. And then after university, that question for me was like, hey, which sect is right? What is the way? What does God want me to do?
Yeah.
And I started that search, and I started asking people around me who I trusted, and there were different hops that led me from one to the other. And then I started learning the language on my own and started studying on my own. So that is a good thing to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you're searching.
Yeah, I am searching. I just think that my biggest problem is that I'm not sticking to what do you think it would have been better?
Well, once it becomes clear, then you stick.
That's true.
Right? So once and also like one of the things to realize is that once you realize that the path that's being offered to you is better than the path that you are on, you should start switching to that path. Right? You can give an opportunity to the previous path, right? To the leaders of those previous path, and you can ask them just so that, in case they have any defense about it. Yeah. Right? But then the choice would be yours. Yeah. Right? So when we were discussing last week, I said that if you look at it like, how do I know Islam is the truth? And I said, look, take it to your heart. See what your heart says, right? So I'm saying that your God is one. He doesn't have children. He doesn't have a son or a daughter. He's perfect. He knows everything. He did not kill his son for us. Everybody is responsible for their own actions. In fact, somebody who dies before the age of 12-ish or whatever, until they reach the age of puberty, there is no sin upon them because they didn't reach that age where they had the ability to make a choice from good and bad. Okay. Right? So that's one definition of God. That's one understanding of salvation, right? Yeah. So now you have to think about what makes sense to you, right? Is this make sense to you or the other one make sense to you? Then we talked about the notion of like, even if you want to follow Jesus, how do you follow Jesus? You don't have any integrity or knowledge directly connected to Jesus, right? Whereas Quran claims that it is. Yeah. And here are the evidences that it is. Yeah. So with that sort of thing, if you want to worship God, then you can clearly see that this is the closer to the truth. Yeah. Because of what I'm saying, right? Now, if you wanted to, you can ask and you can research and make sure that what I'm saying is right. Yeah. Then, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I get that as well. But what do you think about people who, for example, they converted from being a Muslim to being a Christian? Right. And that's how they found their happiness. Yeah. So maybe they didn't find their happiness in
Well, it's not about happiness, it's about truth.
This is about truth.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, for example, if somebody liked a Christian girl, right? And or whatever, and then he converted because of that and he's happy, then you can be happy, right? By different things. So you can make that sort of thing for whatever reason that you want to. Right? Yeah. So again, the question is, are you doing it for the sake of God or are you doing it for your own personal benefits?
Yeah. Also, are the hadiths are they preserved as well?
Yes. Now from hadith, what happens is that our understanding is that there are many hadith. So hadith, now to be very precise and literal, okay? Yeah. Hadith is saying that there's a claim or a narration that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said something.
Okay.
Or he did something.
Okay.
Right? Or something was happening in his company, in his presence, and he kept quiet.
Okay.
Right? So those are all sources of knowledge, because if something happened and he did not say anything, that means that action is permissible.
Okay.
Right? So that those are the things, right? Now these are narrations.
Okay.
So if you think about it, the narration would look something like this. That such and such person said from such and such person, who said from such and such person, who said from such and such person, whatever, all the way up to a disciple of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who said directly from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Okay.
Right, so that's a chain.
That's a chain. Okay.
Okay, so the scholars of Islam has studied those chains.
Okay.
So each such chain has a credibility score. Like, you know how we have credit reports?
Yeah.
So each chain has a credibility score. So that's the research that scholars of Islam has done.
Yeah.
So what they will look at is the integrity, the trustworthiness of each person in that chain.
Okay.
Right? They would also look at their sincerity in terms of what's known to the people, as well as their medical, what was said about their state. Right?
Okay.
So for example, this person was very old, he cannot be trusted in his memory.
Okay.
But this was a person that, was a teacher, he was teaching and learning and whatnot, sort of thing. They also know when the person died and when was he born.
Okay.
Right? They also know that where did he travel and when did he travel and stuff like that. Okay. So based on that, you can have a credibility score. So basically each hadith is classified into, I don't know, like 9 or 10 different categories.
Okay. So
from the strongest one is what's called a sahih. Okay. Right. It's a very authentic hadith, right? And then also another thing is another element to that is that, look, so there's a chain and then there's a statement.
Okay.
Right? So there are certain statements of the Prophet that are narrated via tons of chains. Because if he said something, you heard, right? Let's say if you were a disciple, you heard, he heard, she heard, that person heard. So you have like so many chains going back to the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
So that's a very strong hadith.
Yeah.
So for example, let's say, if something happens, right now if something happens in this room, right? So you say, hey, you know what? Gabriel had Nesty. I didn't drink Nesty, he drank it. So it's just us two, right? So if I say, okay, it's just like one statement and it's your statement, right? Yeah. It's like thousands of people saying, okay, yeah, you're drinking Nesty, right? That's like so many people, saying to it that, look, you know what? He drank Nesty, he thinks it's permissible, he thinks it's like a good thing, whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So again, so you have that sort of thing, and you have also another notion to it, is that how many people narrated that. So the more people narrated that, the stronger it becomes, right?
Okay.
So to the question that there are certain hadith that are classified as super strong.
Okay.
And there are also hadith that are classified as lies.
Okay.
Fabrications.
Okay.
Right? So fabrication would be something, a person that's not trustworthy, does not have a good reputation in the society. Right? And he's saying something that nobody else said. Even if it's a good thing, it doesn't have to be a bad statement. You understand?
Yeah.
Even if it's a good statement about the Prophet, from the authenticity, from the integrity perspective, the scholars will classify it as a fabricated hadith. So let me give you an example. Let's say the Prophet, somebody may say, you know what? And there are many people who are trying to do that out of good intention, right? They said, okay, you know what? If you wake up in the morning and you read this chapter of Quran 10 times, you will get this thing. Okay. Right? You will get a happiness in the day. Right? Reading Quran, is that a bad thing?
No.
Right? But so they're trying to encourage you by that. But from the authenticity perspective, you have to say, look, we don't think that this is a true narration. Looking at the chain. Right? Because this person is known to be doing this thing to encourage people. He would just like invent stuff.
Okay.
Right? So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But again, when it comes to knowledge, we have to preserve it. That's one of the key things. Because it's a major sin in Islam to say something about Allah and His Prophet that you don't know. You don't want to lie about Allah and His Prophet.
And Muhammad was the last prophet,
yes.
Right? No one else will come.
No one else will come. There's no need for it, and there won't be any more prophet.
Okay. So what I was saying, another thing I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I know that Islam, they love to, they have a lot of science-based intelligence that they want to justify that on, right?
No.
Would you say that? No?
Well, I mean, some people have done that again, right? But that's not a necessary condition, right?
Okay.
Because some people have done that. Look, you know what? This sort of information, Islam talked about it, and hundreds and 1400 years ago, 1500 years ago, nobody knew about that. So some people have used that approach as an evidence to Islam.
Yeah.
In general, I don't like that approach.
Yeah.
Because then you're just like chasing with science in general, and there's other details to it. So, but at the same time, Islam will not contradict with science.
Okay.
Because it's true.
Okay.
Right? So it will not contradict with science.
Okay.
But you have to understand that science is an evolving thing.
That's true.
So science is not a static thing. So for example, hypothetically speaking, if science says that, the situation is like this, right? And Quran says the situation is like this. So it could be a matter of perspective. It could be a matter of looking at it, right?
Okay.
Maybe as science, corrects itself and has more capability of finer measurements, science may start to realize that, the situation is like this.
Okay.
For anything. Okay. Right. So I don't think that we should actually get into that sort of comparison.
Yeah, because
in general.
And you said that. Well, do you think is it actually like justified that said that it will never clash, like science and
a true science cannot clash with Quran, because if it does, then there's a problem in Quran or science, right?
Okay. And let's say, for example, like, do you believe in like climate change?
Yeah.
Yes, you do, right?
It's not a belief. I mean, there are many indicators of that basically based on what's happening, temperatures are changing. You are seeing melting happening and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Do you think that the Quran shows you ways to help? I don't know, better the environment, right?
Yes.
Okay, so like, for example, what could I do as a person?
Good. So one thing in Quran is one key principle is that do not waste the resources.
Okay.
Because that's how the friends of Satan do it.
Okay.
Don't waste resources, right? So that's a clear principle in Quran. So eat, drink, but be moderate. Don't be like, greedy. Don't be like overspending. Don't be like overeating. Don't be like over whatever. So likewise, when you make wudu, right? So like right now, we use a lot of water to make wudu, right? The Prophet, peace be upon him, would just like use maybe like something like this to make wudu.
What's that?
Like when you're washing, you say ablution.
Oh, okay.
Because you don't want to waste water. Like don't waste water, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Same thing goes for being, just eating. There's a command of Prophet to eat less, right? What would suffice? You don't be like filling your stomach up till here.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't like just consume, right? Grow the trees. Do not cut the trees. Things like that, right? Being environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
Right. So because again, like you don't want to harm human beings. You don't want to harm animals. You don't want to harm the environment.
Yeah.
So that's part of Islamic values.
Okay. Now, do you think because of people who don't believe in that, they're naturally affecting us? Like they're naturally affecting...
I wouldn't say that per se, because there are many Muslims who don't care about these things as well, right? So I'm saying, and there are many non-Muslims who may care about it more than Muslim.
That's true.
Right?
Okay.
So that's it. So I don't want to like, take it.
Obviously, but it's more like about if we're gonna even just compare the people who do want to care about the environment or not, or all the people who do want to care about the environment, regardless of their background.
Yeah.
For example, how do they surpass that on not beating the people, but helping the environment more than destroying it, versus the people who are trying to destroy it? For example, so if like next in the next 2 days, a lightning shower comes, a flood comes to Toronto Bay Area, I don't know. Like, what could we do as people who do want to help the environment? Like what could
so we first of all, we started ourselves, our family members, we educate people, we raise awareness about it.
Okay. Now, do you think that's overblown now because of how oversaturated that is? Because I know a lot of friends who they love to not spread awareness, but they like to, for example, they like to, okay, you know what, this is what's happening right now, but they don't do anything after that. They don't follow it up. They might show it to a couple friends. They might say, oh, that's so terrible. But then they never do anything to say, okay, here's how I actually care. And here's some actions that I'm willing to put. They're never willing to do that. They want to spread awareness. So it's like a mentality of, oh, well, if I can't really help because I don't want to help, I'm gonna try to show this to somebody who's maybe gonna do it for themselves. So then I can just I put them on it. So technically, I do get some of that credibility, right?
Yeah.
Even though they don't do anything themselves. So do you think that's oversaturated now, or do you think there should be just more actions instead of awareness?
Yeah, I think there should be both.
Okay.
Right? And that's in Islamic perspective too, right? So for example, let's say somebody might be smoking and drinking, but if he advises the other person that don't do it, there's value in advising.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, the person should also take care of themselves, right? I mean, God says in the Quran, أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ, that you command people to do good, right? You command people to do good while you forget yourself.
That's true.
And you read the book as well. So that's a rebuking thing. You should. That's not a very smart thing to do.
Yeah, because I know a lot of my friends, they do like smoking and drinking, and then, but at the same time, it's not like they're trying. They want to step their other friends over stopping to do that.
Yeah, so there's some value into it.
Yeah, but it's like they put like a rope on their friends' legs, but they get dragged into it. It's like I always say, metaphorically, you could walk down the same alley with your friends, but at the end of that tunnel, one of you guys might not be there. Right? It's metaphorically speaking. It doesn't mean that because you both walk down the same path that you all come out the same way.
Yeah.
So I say, how about you take care of yourself first, so you'll be strong enough not to force them, but they'll feel the presence that, oh, okay, so this is what it has happened in your life. So I naturally want to learn from you. I naturally want to educate myself. I naturally want to follow you.
Obviously, you have a better influence as well. Like, people like to follow people who are actually doing it and walking the talk, not just like talking the talk.
Exactly.
Because they can see that you had that discipline to do it yourself. And now it's like, yeah, okay, agreed, yeah.
So do you think it's like a 60-40 where it has to be more like 60% actions and then like 40% of like awareness?
Well, in an ideal situation, it should be like, you only preach what you do. That's the ideal, right?
Yeah.
First you preach to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And then you preach to others.
Okay.
That's the ideal.
So it should just be like what you do, what you speak about. It should be what you do and what you
but in certain scenarios, if you're struggling with something, right? Let's say you have a bad habit that you're struggling with.
Yeah.
And also like one of the things we do is like you have to hide your bad things.
Okay.
Right? So let's say if somebody has a drinking problem, right? Islam would encourage a person to drink privately and not to be open about it.
Okay.
Right.
So you mean like so if someone drank privately, do you think it might be hiding their suffering?
Yes.
Or
it's better to hide your sins.
That's
in general.
Okay. But do you think what if they're open about it? Do you think it
that's
means
a bad
that they
thing.
want help?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So there's two different things, right? One is they're open about it. They go to a rehab or what have you, or a doctor, and say, look, you know what, I want to get off this.
Okay.
Right. And other thing is they're open about it. They're doing it in public among their friends. So that behavior would encourage other people to do it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that will actually spread the evil. Other people will be encouraged to do it.
Okay.
And that's what happens with advertisement and so on and so forth as well.
Okay.
Because you show that people who are doing that are the cool people, right? And that attracts the youth. That attracts the people to do those things as well.
Okay.
So in that scenario, so if a person, let's say, was struggling with alcohol, or drugs or what have you, and then he is getting private help about it, but he still does it one-off and privately, right? And that person had another friend, and he was to tell him that, you know what, stay away from it, don't try it, because once you try it once, because a lot of people have that mentality, I'm just going to do it once and then get off it. It doesn't happen. I know people who did that and then they just like kept doing more and more. It does not feel the same. So you keep increasing the dose and then you go from one thing to the other. It never end. So if that person was advising somebody else, that's a good thing.
Okay.
Even though he has this problem. So he hasn't like overcome.
Okay.
But it depends from person to person and their situation.
Okay. Right? So I think this is one of my last questions I want to ask you before then if you want to start asking me something. So I would say, wow, it just slipped my mind. So I would say, let's say, okay, you were Muslim since you were born, or like right?
I believe that you were Muslim too when you were born.
Okay, yeah, I believe so too. I believe that I'm a peacemaker. Well, so I would say, what are some things do you think I should expect while trying to learn? Like, what are some things that you felt conflicted with yourself? Not felt like super conflicted, but maybe were confused at a point. So as a warning, you would say, well, don't feel confused, just take a different look at it. So what would you say as some things that you think I should just be aware of?
So I think it's stuff like, what we were talking about earlier, right? Being able to distinguish what's permissible and what's recommended.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because that's very important to realize that, look, many time, Islam is for every time and every place.
Okay.
Right? So Islam allows something that you may not like to do culturally or because of the time that you are in.
Okay.
So that does not mean that Islam forces you to do that. Right? You have that sort of freedom.
Okay.
But what happens sometimes, people say, oh, okay, you know what, Islam allows it, so I should do that. And then they're like, oh, how can Islam allow this, right? Because some people need it.
Yeah.
Right? So as we were talking about, like, you know, for example, the notion of marriage, right? You were allowed to marry multiple wives.
Yeah.
Right? Does not mean that you have to.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you know, based on the culture that you are, based on your ability, your justice, you may not be able to do that. So it may, and we were talking about that for one person, it may be recommended to marry a second wife. Right? For another person, it may be forbidden to marry a second wife.
Okay.
Right? Because
there's always exceptions.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. If you see something permissible, don't. And because a lot of people start debating about, like, what's the point? I mean, you don't have to do it.
You don't have to.
Exactly, right? But if somebody needs to, they have that, as you were saying, that, you know, it's permissible for that person.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to make it tight for something that Allah has made permissible.
Yeah.
Right. Same stuff like that. Right. So like stuff like that involves around. We were talking about, you know, the seafood.
Yeah, the seafood part.
So if something is permissible, you don't like to eat it, you don't have to eat it. Right?
Yeah.
And it also happened at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He was, you know, presented a dish, a food, an item. He said, you know what? It's not something that, you know, my people eat.
Okay.
Right. So he didn't like it personally. Right. But he didn't say that it's haram. You can eat it. You guys continue eating it. Right. It's an animal that you can't eat it. It's permissible, but I don't eat it.
Okay.
Right. So stuff like that. So that's very important to be, you know, and then also I think another thing is to be focused on practicality. Okay. Because we can go and keep talking about theory and philosophy all day and all time. Yeah. Right. But one of the main thing is that, look, we are here on a mission, and the mission is to get to God, to start submitting to God before we die. Yeah. Right. And our time can be up anytime. That's true. Right. Because you and I know people who have died at the age of 12 and younger. You probably already know that as well. Yeah. So doesn't mean that I have to be like 40 or 60 or 70 for me to start thinking about death, because death can come anytime. Right. And death will come. And that is not a bad thing. What's a bad thing is that death comes and we're not ready. Right? Yeah. The teacher comes and says, you know what, time's up, give me your paper back. Yeah. No more time for you, right? Yeah. And that's a bad thing. Yeah, I'm more or less scared of death than dying, because I've seen a lot of bad dying. You know, like a bad, like the way how you will die. You know, I think that's the part that scares a lot of people. And that also ties back into the untimely death. Yeah. Right? Maybe it's just the best death you could ever ask for, but it was at the wrong time. But what's the wrong time? That's the thing. I mean, if somebody dying at 18 years old. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. There's a kid. No, I'm 18. Like, just don't wish it on me. Okay. No, but I'm saying if you have to look a bit deeper, right? There's a child who died at 12 from our mosque. Right? I mean, there's some pain about it, but I don't have much pain about it, because I think he was a successful guy. Right? I mean, he's a guy who comes and prays, and you know, he was memorizing, he was studying Quran, right? So from all we know, I think it's a good thing, because you know what? It's like, hey, you know what? You passed it. Inshallah, he's in paradise. From what we know of, right? What is this? What we see a lot of people when they're 18, 19, right? They go through so many different trials. Some people go the wrong way. The chances of going the wrong way is so high in today's society, right? You never know where you're going to end up. So somebody, you know, passing like that, I think it's beautiful. Okay. Right? Yeah. I see if somebody can have pain for it, yes. Yeah. But if you really look at it, like, you know, if you want to detach from it, it's like, okay, good. One guy's successful. You know, we'll go hang out with him in paradise, right? Okay. So I believe that right now, his state of being is better than what his state of being would have been if he was alive. Because this place is not a comfort place, right? Yeah. You have to wake up, you know, like, for example, right now I was just discussing with my, you know, friend yesterday, like, I would love to be drinking right now, like a latte, or, you know, a caramel latte, or, you know, Tim Hortons introduced Kit Kat ice cap. I would love to drink it, right? Yeah. Can I drink it? No, it has consequences, right? Yeah. I don't want to go and work out for it or whatever, right? But if I'm in paradise, then I don't have to worry about those things. Okay. Right? So I'm just saying, this life does not mean that it's a comfort and luxury life. If somebody exists this life while being a believer, trying his best, and isn't to put into paradise, then time doesn't matter. The sooner the better. Yeah. Right? So because think about it, like, I'm saying that, look, you know what, Gabriel? Okay. Once you die as a believer, you are ending up at a resort. Right? You just have to be on your vacation. right? Now, some people think that, oh, you know what, when I'm going to retire, that's how I'm going to be. So if you ask that person, hey, you know what, let's say if you win a lottery, if you have a lot of money, do you want to retire today or do you want to wait till you're 60?
Nah, I would rather to retire today.
That's what I'm saying. So that's the thing. So likewise, somebody who is dying and going to paradise is like someone who is retiring at an early age.
Yeah.
But if he's dying while committing all the sins, while not praying, while not worshiping Allah, then it's a problematic thing. And that would hurt as a parent, as a society member, as a community member. But someone from what we know was a good guy, he left at 12, alhamdulillah, man. Right? Because, okay, one of my family members is chilling, I'm going to go and join him hopefully as well.
Yeah.
See what I'm trying to say? So you know, that was related to your question about what to be aware of. Is that, look, I mean, if your heart is reasonably confident, right, that Muhammad is the messenger of God based on what you know, you don't see anything, and you know that this is a better way. For me to worship God, this is a better way. So the question is, what does God want you to do right now? My claim is, God wants you to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. I, Gabriel, testify that there is no one worthy of worship except one God. He is the one who should be worshipped. Not Jesus, not Muhammad, not Angel Gabriel, not Mother Mary, not anyone else, but God. He should be the one that's worshipped. He sent down messengers and books to us. Jesus was one of the messengers of God, and Muhammad is another messenger of God, and Muhammad is the final messenger of God, right? So I think God wants you to, if you have that in your heart, I think God wants you to verbalize that. Yeah. And the next thing that God wants you to do is to start praying 5 times a day. Is to start having a one-on-one, like you and I are having a one-on-one right now, right? To have a one-on-one meeting with God. Yeah. And to keep learning from that. If you think that is true, that's what I invite you to do, because you and I never know if we would have another meeting or not. Yeah. Right? But if you think that's not true, or if you have any confusion or hesitations, then you want to hold on to it. But if you think that's true, or that's truer than what you are at, then you should go onto that, hop onto that as soon as possible. Okay. And you can hop back, yes, right? But if you really want to know what was wrong, so you hop back to whatever is true. You always follow truth, regardless of if I'm following the truth with you, if Rayyan is following the truth with you, if your mother is following the truth with you. No, if you see the truth and truth regarding God, if you realize that this is what God wants you to do, you do that. Right? If I say, hey, you know what, I don't think God wants you to do that, you ask me. We have an open dialogue. I try to convince you. If you're convinced, you don't do it. If you're not convinced, and always ask God, oh God, keep showing me the light. Do not let anybody, mesmerize me or use their logic to confuse me. Always keep showing me the truth. God will show you the truth. Your heart will tell you the truth. But then the test is from God. Do you have the courage to follow the truth, or you would be, coward about it because you don't want to upset anybody else?
Okay. Now, do you think preserving the world is necessary? Like this world?
The world is not going to stay forever.
That's true.
Okay. The world will come to an end. Okay. Right? We do not want to destroy the world. Right? So there's a narration by the Prophet Mohammed that gives us a good principle. Yeah. He says, if you see that the hour is coming, when the hour comes, that means everything will be destroyed. Okay. Right? So let's say, you were saying, I'm going to plant a tree. I'm going to, grow another tree so people can eat from it. The birds can eat from it. It's going to be like, oxygen or whatever. I want to plant a tree, right? So you are planting a tree right now, right? And you see that there's a sign of the hour, there's like a big destruction coming, world will be taken over. Yeah. Your mindset should be, I have the ability to do a good deed, let me do a good deed. Even though you think, what's the point of planting it? Because the world is going to end, right? No, but you don't know. You are very confident the world is going to end, but you do your thing, because when you planted that seed, Allah will reward you for it. Even though there's no tree, maybe the world is going to end right away. Yeah. But you gonna get a reward for your intention and your action. So you keep doing the good. Okay. Right? But at the same time, you need to realize that, look, we have to worry about climate change, but we also have to worry about soul change to make sure we end up in paradise. Yeah. Right? Because everything has to be balanced. Yeah. Right? So you don't want to overemphasize something and really ignore something. Yeah. Right? So just like climate change is a problem, human connection is a problem. People are not connected to each other. Yeah. Right? Selfishness is a problem. People are not taking care of the elderly is a problem. People are not taking care of their parents is a problem. right?
Okay.
And those things might be a higher priority than climate, for example.
Okay, and there's another thing I want to say. Do you think there's a maximum amount of people in this world? Like, I'm not sure that makes sense, but ever since Adam till you and me right now,
yeah.
Do you think there's a maximum number of people? If you see the hour coming, do you think that was all the humans that could have ever existed?
Well, yeah, God knows that number.
Yeah,
God
knows
that number.
He knows that number.
Yeah. So everything
is
different.
Infinite. It's not like, well, okay, you could have 2 kids next year or whenever you're right. Okay, you could have 2 kids next year. What about the third, the fourth? Like, will you have more kids in paradise? No.
Well, so here's a principle. You will have everything that you want in paradise.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about being, upset in paradise. You'll get whatever you want. Okay. But no more human beings will be created. Okay. So once the human beings are created, right, in general, they will all end up in paradise or hellfire eventually. That's it. There won't be any more human beings. There won't be any more death.
Okay. And there won't be any more creation, or in creation in the sense of human beings.
Yeah. Okay. And even us will be different. We wouldn't be in these bodies. These bodies are weak. They're fragile. They're not meant to last forever, right? And they have their own weaknesses. We would have a much better body, have much better experiences, and everyone have same body. So it wouldn't be like, okay, I'm taller, you're shorter. No.
Yeah. Do you think we will continue to learn even in paradise?
I don't know how to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the sense of, well, I learned not about like the worldly knowing, but not even knowing about yourself. But if paradise is what you want, and you'll have everything in paradise, and that's eternal, is that something can change, or is it just?
I know, but I mean, but right now when we talk about change, we make because the same thing that God tells us, right? You will not be bored in paradise.
Okay.
Right. So so there will so the idea would be that there will be like this key state where you are praising God, you can see God, you can have a meeting with God, you'll be enjoying yourself, you'll never be bored. Yeah. You won't get sick, you won't get bored. So, So it's gonna be a different experience, right? So it's a different dimension that we can even think about. Okay. Right.
Because I know one time, I think my mom back in like when I was like a little kid, my mom said that for 1,000 years we'll all be in heaven while God is creating a new dimension.
No, but God doesn't need time to create a new dimension.
That's true. But I think it was just a sense of, well, it's just for us to be in heaven, and then it'll be a convert. No. Okay.
Well, we have different stages, right? So you have a stage in which you'll be in grade.
Okay.
Right? You have a stage where you're like transitioning from this life to the other. That's a big stage. Because you're seeing your soul go, you're seeing the angels who are coming to get you. That experience will be different for a believer and a disbeliever.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be very different.
Very different?
Yes.
In the sense of?
In the sense of pain, in the sense. Like, so what you see externally is not related to what you see internally. Right? So externally, a tyrant man could just die like in his sleep. But we know that his experience of getting out of this world is going to be horrible.
Yeah.
Right? Even though we don't see anything externally. Right? And you may see externally, like let's say, if somebody is defending his country, is defending his land for the sake of God. Right? We may see that person to be blown in pieces, right?
Yeah.
Or burned into fire, right? But his experience will be the sweetest.
Yeah.
Right? So that's something very important to realize, right? Somebody being crucified for the sake of God, his experience to be sweetest, right? Even though externally we can see a pain, right? Yeah. Because it's all in the control of God, right? So that's another stage. There's a stage in which you will be in grave.
Yeah.
Then there's a stage in which everybody will be resurrected.
Yeah.
And people are waiting to meet God and for their account to begin. It's such a horrific scene. Everybody's just running and everybody's like naked.
Yeah.
But people are so over concerned about their own self. So much heat, right?
Yeah.
But then everybody's experience of the heat will be different according to the sins that they are committing.
Yeah.
Right? So that stuff is a very long period.
Yeah.
Then the judgment will begin, and then your turn will come, and then all these events is going to happen until you make it to paradise or hellfire.
Okay.
So it's like a big different stages that will happen.
So do you think, I mean, this might sound kind of bad, but do you think it's more of an advantage if you were born earlier, let's say, during the times of the prophets? Do you think it would be easier because it was more of, like, for example, God, if Muhammad heal like wounds or like and if that's visible, people are no.
Because I mean, like that's what I say to people, right?
Yeah.
That many people did not follow God.
Yeah.
Even though they saw everything.
Exactly.
Right? They saw Moses doing what he did. They saw Jesus doing what he did. They saw Muhammad doing what he did. Right? But also, it was also way more harder than.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the tribal alliances at that time were very solid. You can't. It's very hard for someone at that time to leave their tribe and do something against it.
Yeah.
It's quite normal today.
That's true.
The amount of right now, if you choose to become Muslim, there's not going to be any physical threat to you.
Yeah.
Likewise, if you choose not to become Muslim, there's no physical threat to you in Canada. Right? But at that time, there's physical threat, there's financial threat, there's lack of freedom. Right? So in general, it's not clear. I mean, I would say that things are easier today.
Yeah.
Right? It's easier to become Muslim than, I mean, from a worldly perspective, because there's different thing, right? There's external pressure, right? Physical threat, financial threat, and so on and so forth. And there's internal threat, which is our own desires.
Yeah.
Where we don't want to wake up, where we don't want to worship, we just want to do what we feel like doing. Those are internal threats.
Yeah.
And then you have threats from Satan, who trying to give this all evil thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So is there anything you want to ask?
Yeah.
Or you want
I want to shake your hand. I want you to become Muslim by verbalizing your faith now.
Right now?
Yes, that's what I want. I mean,
I thought you said I was already Muslim.
Okay, good. So what I mean by that is to acknowledge that Prophet Muhammad is the last messenger of God.
Okay.
Because that's the only thing that's remaining.
Okay.
Right? Based on our discussion. Because you know that Jesus is not God.
Okay.
Yes or no? You don't know? Okay, if you don't know.
I mean, that's why I said, like, right now, I just want to do my own research.
Okay, that's fine.
If I could say yes or no right now, it wouldn't be the truth. Because I don't know.
So right now, you think that Jesus... No, right now, based on what you know right now... Because, okay, look, sometimes not making a decision is also making a decision, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? So I know you want to be, like, very careful about not making a decision, but sometimes not making a decision, and that's why you need to go into your heart and then see what is your heart think, right? So, for example, does your heart think that God is God? I mean, Jesus is God?
No. I think that's what I've always believed.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just that if I said, let's say, yes, I believe that Muhammad was the last prophet.
Yeah.
It's just me not knowing anything about him. It's just,
so the amount of information that people know about Muhammad also varies.
Yeah.
Right? But based on what you know, based on your current knowledge, like, I mean, there were people who met Prophet Muhammad once and he saw him speak, right? They said, look, you know what? My heart said that he's a prophet. He cannot be an ordinary man.
Yeah.
Right? This speech is not from a human being. This speech has to be from God. You see, so people had 5 minutes of interaction with him and they had the confidence to become Muslim. Do you understand that?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like because they had that interaction with him.
Right.
If I didn't, I don't even have the interaction of even the knowledge about reading him so far. So even though, yes, you have given me some knowledge, right now, if I said it, it's still not true. Okay. It's not true, because it's not universally true, but it's not true to myself because it's me just saying, oh, I'm a yes man because it's not me. It's like as soon as
how can you facilitate coming to a conclusion faster? For example, I'm just saying, what can you do, hypothetically speaking, right? Because I'm saying, bro, like right now, I'm saying that this is your path to paradise. This right? Yeah. And you are saying, okay, I'm standing in this corner. Yeah. Right. But you can't stand. Because life is gonna move, right? Yeah, life is gonna move. What's happening right now is you are on a conveyor belt. Yeah. Right? Like how we have in airports. Right? So you're already on one belt. Yeah. Right? I'm saying, Gabriel, I have shown you some problems with this belt that you're on. Right? I've also shown you what this belt stands for. Okay. And why this belt is true. Yeah. I would like you to hold my hand and move onto this belt. And be there as you research. Right? So as we move along on the belt, if you realize that this belt is better or some other belt is better and you were tricked into it, or you had a blind spot that you did not realize in the past, and you see another belt that's better and clearer, then you move on to that belt. Right? But the point is that if you see in your heart that this belt has a problem that you're on and this belt is better, and you don't see any problem with this belt, then you should probably move on to that belt.
Yeah.
Right? If your heart sees this to be better. If it doesn't see it, no, then stay on the belt that you are on.
I think right now it's just because I can't see the belt at all. So right now it's invisible to me because yes, I know it's there. I know I see other people on it, but at the same time it's invisible to me.
How is it invisible?
It's invisible to me because it's me saying, I remember one time I was just reading the Bible and it was saying how you remember Lot, he asked, I'm not if you know that part of the Bible where it's Lot Abraham asked God if there's at least 10 good men in Sodom and Gomorrah, please don't burn it down, right?
Yeah.
I think right now I don't want to be. It's not because I don't want to be saved. I want to be saved, but at the same time, I don't want to be saved just because I had. Because I don't want to be not saved. But it sounds so strange, but I don't want to be saved if I didn't do my own research into something. Because just like how there's scholars, there's different people. There's different people in different places. Even if you might have the same general belief, there's different people who layer it differently. I could go onto that conveyor belt, but at the same time, if Judgment Day is to say it's what you know versus just being on the belt that you are on, well, I'd rather know what I know. I'd rather get to know what is the truth, even if this is the truth. It's what I know. It's what my knowledge is. Then I could say, yeah, I can fully see the belt, and this is my description of the belt, even if there is the same general truth. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's saying it's. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. Oh, it sits on live, right? Okay. Right now. Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that
it's
okay. So I see what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, it's a knowledge in the sense that because I see one very good thing about it, but I also want to point out another thing that there's knowledge that's also communicated to people.
Yeah.
Right. So when Jesus came, for example, like imagine yourself in the time of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So look, I'm the messenger of God.
Yeah.
Right. Here are the signs, and here's what I'm calling you to. Right. So that was a verbal knowledge that was passed.
Yeah.
Right. And there were people who accepted Jesus on day 1. There were people who accepted Jesus on day 10. There were people who accepted Jesus on day 100. Right. And so that's one way of looking at it. And then there was also people when the message reached from Jesus to them. So it may have been reached to them on the 100th day from Jesus claiming, right? But that was day 1 for them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So there were people so that means they also accepted the message on day 1.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something very important to realize that because knowledge is from God.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't mean that a knowledge may come to you while you are reading a book, right? Or a knowledge may come while you're talking to somebody else, and so on and so forth. So there's different ways of getting the knowledge, right? So when you talk about the path, it's not going to be like you will stumble upon it.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody has to tell you about it. Like somebody told me, like my parents told me or my teachers told me, right?
Yeah.
So likewise, I'm telling you that, like, look, you know what, Gabriel, think about the life, think about everything else that we have. And here is the knowledge that we have in this book, Quran. And I'm giving you a summarized version of it, that the God is one, he knows everything, he sees everything, and we are created for a test. And this is what happened with Adam, this is what happened with whatnot, right? And you can come to the same knowledge if you read the Quran, right? It will take you more time to cover read it, which is fine.
I guess that what you're saying is that it's better to know now because people who got the knowledge, they understood the knowledge on the 100th day. Yeah. It could have very, very been well that their untimely, like, exactly. on leaving, it would have been the 60th day, and then they couldn't even have got to the 100th day.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not going to be worried about that. Yeah. Because God will always test you based on what you know.
Exactly.
Right? But now this is not your day 1, this is your day 120, for example, right? Plus 4 years of Rayyan's knowing to you.
Yeah. Do you think what I know right now is enough?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you tell me, right? So what is required of you, right, is to realize that Prophet Muhammad is a messenger of God, right?
Yeah.
Now, who is Prophet Muhammad?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you will know from me.
Yeah.
You know by reading the book.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, again, you're not saying, oh, this. You're saying, okay, telling about a man who brought the book Quran, right? So this is Prophet Muhammad. Is kind of like related, right?
Yeah.
So there's a person named Muhammad that this book talks about.
Yeah.
Right? Who brought this book to us via God.
Yeah.
So that is the person that we are talking about. I don't know how he looks like exactly. You don't have to know how he looks like exactly. Yeah. Right? So we're talking about the men mentioned in this book.
Okay.
Right? And we're talking about the book. This is the book that's the only book that's on the face of earth that even claims to be from God. There's no other book that claims that you know of. Right? And this is the language that it was brought into. Yeah. Not only the words, but the pronunciation. So if I read something like that, I will be like, إلا من تاب وآمن وعمل عملا صالحا فأولئك يبدل الله سيئاتهم حسنات وكان الله غفورا رحيما ومن تاب وعمل صالحا فإنه يتوب إلى الله متابا. So this pronunciation is also from the Prophet Muhammad. Yeah. And this is how we believe that angel Gabriel read it. And that's how God read it. Okay. Right? From a speech perspective. So what this actually means is that the one who repents, believes, and does good deeds, so Allah will turn their bad deeds into good deeds. And Allah is ever all forgiving, all merciful. And whoever repents to Allah and does good things, then indeed he have done a great repentance to Allah. Okay. That's the meaning of that verse. Okay. So the point being that if you believe that this book is the book of God, right, and you know a lot about this book, you know essentially a lot of the messages on the book I've shared with you. You've done your own reading. You've seen Muhammad Hijab's videos about that, what the book teaches, right? One of the things that this book also teaches is that Jesus was a man of God and a messenger of God, like Prophet Muhammad, like Moses was a man of God and a messenger of God, like Prophet Muhammad is the final messenger of God. That's also a teaching of this book. Yeah. Right. So you know Muhammad, a lot about Muhammad from this book as well. Right? Yeah. Yes, there's a lot more details that you don't know about. Yeah. Do you need to know those details? Do you quote unquote need to know? You can be a Muslim based on your current knowledge. Yeah, obviously. Right? So you can always, and then your knowledge will grow, right? And you know a lot more about Islam, by the way, than many people who pray with us here. Really? Yeah, because they just learned like the basics, they just started praying, they didn't spend time. It's not a good thing, but I'm just saying this.
Yeah, and that's what I was scared about, is it because I like the way how I was taught when I was growing up, is that it's not easy to get in heaven. It's not easy to get into heaven. It's the struggle. It's the struggle of saying, yes, I will challenge myself to learn, to follow God, even when my mind, it has so much much temptations, and it's hard to go day by day, to sometimes be willing to pray, sometimes even just being creative enough, just like how I said, like even when I pray in the morning, right, even if that's not the way how you're supposed to pray to God, it's knowing what you are grateful for and being aware of, obviously it might not be correct, but it's saying, okay, here are some things that have been going well in my life, and I'm grateful to God that He has willed it to be like that, right? That's a good thing, and that's why I said right now, it's, if I, for example, let's say I shake your hand and I do like become a Muslim.
You don't have to shake my hand, but
but let's say I do that, and tomorrow is, no, I'm not gonna say that, but let's say 50 years from now is my untimely, but I just stopped learning for a little bit. No, not 50 years, but let's say in the next, I don't know, couple, weeks or months, and let's say that's when I meet my untimely, and my knowledge only stopped here. I was busy through the next couple months, and then I meet my untimely undoing, and then when Judgment Day comes, I'm only with the knowledge I have right now.
Would I
be suitable for paradise? No.
Yeah, of course you will.
Yeah.
Well, see, there's something very important to realize that you're not going to paradise based on how much academics credentials you have.
Yeah.
It's more about how much you practice what you know.
Okay.
That's very important to realize that it's not like paradise is not like, okay, a simple farmer can be way above in paradise than me, who is talking about Islam.
Yeah.
Because he took the religion and he had the love of God and he did his best to practice that and he took care of his family. I mean, the bar to enter paradise is not huge. Because think about it, God is very merciful. You're going to be getting to paradise by the mercy of God.
Yeah.
So the bar is not like super high. But everybody is different. Some people like to learn. Some people just like to, like, there's the simplest man. He came to the prophet, he said, okay, you said that there's one God, Allah, who is sent down as you as a messenger. He said, yes. Okay, good. What has he commanded me to do? And he has commanded me to pray 5 times a day. Yeah. The prophet said, yes. Anything else? He said, no. You can do more if you want to, but the bare minimum is 5 times a day.
And do you think with the people who you say I know more than them, do you think what? I mean, obviously you're not God, so you're not the ones who's gonna judge them. But do you think they should be like, if they were put in a situation, maybe their parents were Muslim, let's say, and that's how they've grown up, but they just never took the time to even read the Quran more than 5 pages, and they pray 5 times a day and they do this and that. But as a person who is trying to learn,
that's it.
Do you think what's the?
Well, 2 things. If the people who learn for the sake of learning. Yeah. Right. There are many non-Muslims. There are many non-Muslims who just learn because they want to have an academic dialogue about it. Right. So they do it. That's the intention is for dunya. The intention is very important. If you're learning, so you can know God better and you can become a better servant. So that's the act of worship. The more your time is engaged in an act of worship, the higher your status is with God. So also to be clear, the paradise is not like 0-1. You're in paradise or you're not in paradise. It's not like that. Yeah. They're like levels of paradise. Okay. So maybe there's like thousands of levels of paradise. Some say it's like 6,000 levels. Wow. So it's a big difference.
Why do you think it's interpreted that way?
Well, because there are some hadith that kind of points out to that. For example, one thing is that people who read the Quran, they will be said that keep reading the Quran and your level would be when you stop reading it.
Okay, so is paradise, or is it like paradise is like this is base 1? And
it's like it's levels. Yes, so, it's levels. Likewise, hellfire is also levels. Yeah. So it's not like one. So it's obviously somebody like doing way more wrong is going to be much lower in the hellfire than somebody who has not done as much wrong.
But if it's still hellfire is just
the severity
of hellfire for eternity, right? Yes, so let's say if like what do you think? I mean, I'm just gonna ask you, but like let's say if 6,000 was the cap, what would the 6,000 floor be? Would it just
so it's gonna be like it's not it's right below the throne of God. Okay. That's the level that the prophets would be in. That's the level that Jesus would be in. So you're gonna be closer to those people. Okay. You're gonna be closer to the God, like because it's right under His throne.
Okay. And so let's say you were in level.
And the prophet said that when you ask God, ask for that level, highest level of paradise. Yeah. There's nothing you should aim for it. You should ask for it. Yeah. Why not? And God says in Quran, are the people who know like the people who don't know. Right. So learning it's an act of worship. Yeah. But it's extra. It's not a bare minimum for you to be in paradise. Okay. Right. So if you just pray 5 prayers a day, and you say, okay, I just want to pray 5 prayers a day, just want to fast once a year. And I'll do and I love to make I love to make technology. I love to make bicycles, whatever. I just want to do that for the sake of God. But from my religion thing, I'm just going to keep it to bare minimum. That's fine. That's your choice. But you can say, what, I'm going to keep doing what I like to do. I'm going to keep doing the bare minimum, but I also want to learn. Okay. That's great. That's better. Yeah. Right. That's better.
That's true.
That will make you stronger as well. The more you learn, the more you will be guarded. Right, the person who is at a basic level, it's also easier for them to tip and fall. Yeah. Right, but the more you learn properly with the good intention, the more buffer you have, the more guard you have. Okay. Right, so you're expanding your territory.
So let's say, for example,
But right now, what I'm saying is, what you shouldn't do. Like that's a trick of Shaitan, that he's not letting you do the basic until you become. Like for example, it's like somebody saying that I'm saying what. Bro, why do you keep taking the bus? Why do you keep walking? Why don't you drive a car? You're like, I'm not too sure about this technology because I haven't learned this technology from inside out. Maybe the engine will burst, so I don't want to take chances. right? I'm saying if you have reasonable confidence that, look, this is a safe technology, it will speed you up. So instead of you walking, drive, right? Likewise, if I say, you're telling me you have a headache, right, or you have this pain, this is medicine. It has like relatively very less side effects. It can protect you from the pain. There's a case to take it, right? Even though you don't understand all the chemical details about it, you know what I mean? Because now if somebody said, no, I'm not going to drive until I learn inside out of the car. I mean, yeah, you can do that, but like you're just putting yourself at a disadvantageous position, right? And I'm saying having that balance is very important. I'm not saying that, okay, just get into the car without knowing anything about it. But once you've learned and you have spent like 1 month after we have interacted. Previously, you have kind of known Rayan for like 4 years. Right. So you have spent a lot of time in that sense. Right. So we do have a pretty good visibility on what this is about. I mean, you know about things that many Muslims don't know about, right? Like kosher, or we were talking about last time I was talking to you about like seafood and how there are different types of seafood, right? And most of us don't know about those things. Right. So it's not that you're just like, up in there. You have actually gone detailed understanding of the rulings. You have seen like hijab's debate about intricate details. You're not talking about the surface macro level issues anymore. Right. So I think you have significant knowledge to be relatively more confident about it, and for you to start pursuing it, and then keep your studies going. And as you do study, you can do a in-depth comparison of like even interfaith studies if that's something that you like to do. And but then all that becomes as part of your worship, because you realize that this is my God and this is the book of God. Because right now, I mean, so maybe in your heart you know that this is a book of God. But you're kind of in that sort of gray zone. I cannot make that judgment. But the point is that, look, if in your heart you're relatively comfortable this is the book of God, and you're not accepting, you're not acknowledging it. So there's some underlying layer that's preventing you from doing that. I don't know what that layer is. And I think you don't even know what that layer is. So it's a very tricky business, right? And I don't want that to be an arrogance or fear of people or what have you. So what I would like to do, and again, I don't control you. I don't want to control you at all. There's no compulsion in it. But what I would advise you to do as a friend, that if you're relatively confident about it, for you to verbalize it, and then continue your learning and your practice. So after that, you continue reading it every day. You read a page. Even if you read a page and you think about it, right? We can have a discussion about it. And then you try to establish the 5 prayers. If you can't do 5, you do your best so that you can get to the 5.
So let's say like your kids, they get to level 2000, and then you're level like 3000.
Right, good question.
Like what would you want to put yourself down so you can?
No, you can actually raise other people's level as well.
Wow.
Right, because of. So that's another thing, right? So you hanging out with good people has impact.
So
right?
let's say
you have some sort of ability to bring people closer to you or to your level. Yes. Like vice versa. The kids bringing the parents up, vice versa.
Now this might sound.
And at the same time, even if you're at different level, doesn't mean that you will not be able to beat them up or you won't be able to interact with them. Just to be aware of it. In general, nobody will be unhappy in paradise.
So this sounds bad, but let's say it was you were in paradise, and you can only control the levels in paradise. You can't control the levels in hellfire. So let's say someone that you really cared about in this world, they end up in hellfire because maybe they were just on a different path than you, and then you're in paradise. What would you do if they, let's say they were even your kids? Like, would you?
Good. So and that has happened, right? So Noah. Prophet Noah, right? So he asked God. He said that, look, you know what? My son died in that storm, right? And he's my family. God said he's not your family, right? So that's something very important to realize. That look, I mean, God is the kindest. He is the most merciful. He is the most merciful. Right. So if someone deserves to be in paradise, God will make that person in paradise. If somebody did not make it, that person really did not deserve it. Now you and I may have a shallow understanding of people because we don't know the layers of depth that human being works at. Right? It's a very complex emotions, complex layers. But God knows people inside out.
So do you think if your kids ended up in hellfire and you went to paradise, how would you feel about that person?
I would be feeling great.
You'd be feeling great?
No, because God will make sure I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, feeling feelings are something that God can control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are also a creation of God, right? And because we know that, look, I mean, from Abraham, right?
Yeah.
So right now, see, what happens is that we have a certain amount of visibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right now, like for example, so on the day of judgment, we know this from Quran, from Hadith.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham's father will come.
Abraham's father.
Yeah, Abraham's father, right? Who was an idol worshiper.
Oh, okay.
Right, and Abraham will talk to God about it, right?
So what happened? So Abraham's father will come on the day of judgment.
Right. So Abraham is going to make a case for him.
He's gonna pray.
He's going to make a case for him.
Okay.
For him to be in paradise.
Okay. So Abraham is going to make a case for his father.
Yeah.
To God. To God.
So that he can be in paradise.
So it's like kind of like the same thing that he did for Lot.
No. Just let me continue.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But God said, "Look at him." Right. And then when Abraham will look at him, he would be in such a disgusting state that Abraham wouldn't want him to be in paradise. Right. Because see, when when we see some people, we say, okay, it's like a human being, for example, right? But if you realize that somebody who's like, turning away from God, not worshiping God, worshiping other people, that's a very bad thing in itself, right? So it's a lot about perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once you see the way that things are, right, then you realize that, look, you know what? Yeah, it does not befit for that person to be in paradise, right? Because it's about the lenses that you're looking somebody at, right? So let's say hypothetically speaking, like Hitler, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you may see like, okay, he's a general, like a disciplined guy, whatever, is running this army, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you may just be blind-sighted to what he did, right? But once you realize the magnificence of the stuff that the person has done, the horrible things that he has done, then you realize, like, it makes sense for that person not to be in paradise. And I'm happy that I am here, right? Because it's not a smart thing to say, oh, because the other person is not, I don't want to go, right? Why not? Why don't you save yourself, right? And there has been many people who have saved themselves first, and then they've kept working on their parents, right? But at the same time, when you save yourself, then you're making it easier for your children as well, instead of them having to worry what you are worrying about your parents to do.
Yeah. Okay. And I get that, because do you think it's connected back to how you raise your kids? If, for example, if they did go to hellfire, would you feel?
So if you remember what we were talking about, look, at the end of the day, the results are in the hands of Allah. What you and I will be judged on are the efforts.
Yeah.
Right. So again, Abraham's father was not a Muslim. Abraham was a Muslim.
Yeah.
Right? Prophet Muhammad's parents were not Muslims. He was a Muslim. Right? Noah was a Muslim, but his son was not a Muslim. Lot was a Muslim. His wife wasn't a Muslim. Right? Pharaoh was a non-Muslim. His wife was a Muslim. Right? So these things happen, and they itself are a test, right? Are your alliances, your allegiances lies to the people that you have blood ties with, or do they lie to Allah?
Yeah. Is Ramesses in the Quran? Who? Ramesses, Moses' brother?
Yes.
Okay.
We call it Aaron.
Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in Arabic it's Harun, but the English would be Aaron or Aaron.
Okay. And I think so far it's been going great. And I get what you mean at the same time. And I guess maybe it's Satan influencing me to believe that if you don't know everything, what's the point of trying it all?
Yeah. So this is a false myth, bro. I mean, that's something to be very important, because again, it's not about you, it's about God, right? And your knowledge is kind of something about your own ego, your own thing, which is a good thing. I'm saying don't let it become an egoistic thing for you to prevent from doing the right thing. So for example, like some people, and there are people, it's a very psychological thing, right? It's like, I just don't want to follow this because you told me about it, right? I'm not saying that's you, but you understand what I'm saying. Many people, okay, I just, like, let's say you're two friends, right? I would have done it if I had discovered it myself.
Yeah.
Right. And that's an egoistic thing, and inshallah you don't have it, but being aware of it is very important, right? Because just because somebody else, it's somebody else's idea, and it's a great idea, and that's also from the leadership, they say, right? A great leader would be like, okay, so let's say you're leader, you're trying to achieve something, and your subordinate tells you to do something, right? Many leaders will not take the bright idea just because it came from somebody else, and that's not the right approach.
Yeah.
Right. Even as believers, we're told to take the truth, and even if it comes from anybody, right? Even if it's come from a wicked person, If a wicked person tells you that, you know what you're doing is wrong, and he's right about it, so we shouldn't say, oh, look at you do something worse than me. How come you're advising me? No, I mean, if he's saying something truth, it's a truth word, right? So let's say if you're lying, right, and a robber tells you that, hey, you know, why are you lying? And you say, who the hell are you? Like, I mean, you rob people. Why are you telling me about lying? No, he's telling you the truth at that time, even though he has other issues. Right now, he's telling you the truth, so you take that truth, right, and stop lying. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's something to think about. But yeah, I mean, I would say, bro, like, and I make dua to you that Allah, you know, gives you that strength, and gives you that confidence and comfort, to take the right step. And it's something that you have to be truthful to yourself. Man of truth, that, you know, what's stopping me? Because you know, you can put a nice cover on it, but internally, you know, the reason it could be, I don't know, it could be egoistic, it could be you know, parents, or it could be like whatever. But whenever it's the right time, you know, when you are reasonably satisfied, you can clearly see that, you know, I gotta jump on that conveyor belt and keep growing, but on the right path.
Okay.
So is it gonna be today or no? That's fine. No pressure. But I mean, at the same time, we do want to encourage people, right? Because shaitan doesn't want you to be encouraged, right? And
I mean, if I did it, well, where do we go from there? What? I mean, obviously, I control my own steps. But where do I go?
So from a God's perspective, what God commands you to do is then you learn about what are the times for 5 daily prayers, right?
Okay.
How do you cleanse yourself before those prayers, and how do you pray those prayers, right? So that would be one path that you will be learning. Okay. Other than that, what I would recommend you to do is we would discuss with the look. These are some of the classes that happen in this mosque. These are some of the classes that happen in another mosque, right? Depending on what your availability is. And there's a lot of stuff that happens online, by the way. So at your own time. So if you want to learn at 10 a.m. in the morning, there's no class happening at 10 in the morning, but that's the time you have. You can learn that, right? Let's say if you're a security guard, right, and you have time at night, you can learn a job from that one, right? You can learn while you're traveling in the bus, right? So you pick a subject, you learn about it, right? And then you go from there. And you continue doing whatever else you're doing in life, such as making money, going to school, taking care of your mother. All those stuff does not change.
Okay. I get what you mean. So far, what is the step I need to do to just show me as a prerequisite,
right? So
before I do it.
You give me like a blank check, $500.
Okay. I'm not okay.
No, okay. So basically, the way it's gonna be is like, okay, you say that, okay, you say it in Arabic and in English.
Okay.
Right. So basically, you say that I testify that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad is a slave, a servant, and final messenger of Allah. Right. And I testify that Jesus is a man, a messenger of Allah, and is a slave of Allah. Right.
Can I just say the first part, where it's just say, I know God's the only one and true God? Can I just say that?
Of course.
And that's good enough.
Good enough for what?
If I said, if I just want to, is that enough for me to say, okay, you know what, I believe in the first part because I know that God wants me to see the true light. So is he willing to say, okay, that's good enough for now until you learn the other two? If I said, yes, God is the one and only true God in Arabic and English, is that good enough for me to just do it right now?
Do what? I mean, you can.
If I said, if you showed me how to do it, the proper format of
you can say God is the only one to be worshipped in Arabic.
Okay, and then is that enough for me to?
That's better. That's better than many other people who don't even have that.
Okay, so can I just say that for now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and that will make me Muslim?
No, I mean, so let's see. Okay, man. Remember what we said? Being Muslim is to submit to the will of God, right? Submit to the commands of God, right? So right now, what you're saying is that there's only God that deserves to be worshipped. How do you worship that God, right? So internally, you have a statement about it, right? So your statement could be that, you know, I worship God how my mom taught it, right? So then you're not really following God, you're following your mom.
Okay.
Right? If you're so that I don't. So that's the thing. It's way internal. I don't have that sort of visibility into it, but it's something that you need to do internal introspection about and what you're actually saying, because you already know that there's one God and I need to worship that God, right? But my way of worshiping is how my mom taught me.
But if I said Muhammad is the one and only slave,
no. So what you're saying is that Muhammad is a man, right? Is a slave of God, like all of us are slave of God, right? And he's a messenger of God. So what you're saying is that you are worshiping God as Muhammad taught him to be worshipped, as Muhammad taught us to be worshipped. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, because so right now, right, when you say there's only one God worthy of worship, you're not saying anything about Quran, right? What's your statement about Quran? Is this a book of God or not? Right? But when you say Muhammad is a messenger of God, you're confirming to these two things, or you can say it separately too. Well, I'm saying there are tenets of faith. So the first tenet, which you have it, is that God is the only one that needs to be worshipped. That deserves to be worshipped.
No, but is there a different way to say it? For example, if God's the only true God, and Quran is the preserved holy book of all time, is that enough, or is it?
Well, okay, good.
Because
if you believe that, if you really believe that, then Quran is saying that Muhammad is the messenger of God.
Okay.
Right, and Jesus is the messenger of God. Right. So if you believe that Muhammad is the messenger of God, then Quran follows. If you say Quran is the book of God, then Muhammad being the messenger and the follows. Okay. So you cannot have one or the other.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So what I'm saying is the 6 tenets of faith. Okay. So the number 1 tenet is that God is the only one that's deserving of worship. You have that. Tenet number 2 is that you accept that God sent many different messengers.
Yeah.
We don't know them all.
Yeah.
We may know like 5 or 10 because they're mentioned in Quran or the Hadith, but there are many others as well. We don't know of that. And it's also good to realize that we don't know everything. That's being part of being humble.
Yeah.
Right? So as part of that tenet is that Muhammad is also the final messenger of God. Then another tenet is that there are many books that God sent down, such as what he gave to Jesus, what he gave to Moses, and so on and so forth. And the Quran is the final book of God. Right? So how many tenets we have talked about so far? 3. God, messengers, books.
Okay.
Right? There's a 4th tenet is that we believe that God has another creation called angels.
Okay.
Right? So that belief comes from Quran, by the way, but it's still a significant tenet. Right? Then we also believe that this life is just a temporary life. The God will resurrect you after death.
Okay.
That's another tenet. Again, it comes from Quran. But that's the thing, because it became tenet in a sense because many people don't think that God will resurrect you. They say once you die, it's end. Right? That's wrong.
And that's the 5th?
Yeah, that's a 5th tenet.
Okay.
That you will actually be resurrected and you will be judged in this paradise and hellfire.
Okay.
So that's the 5th tenet. It's a very important thing. Even though it follows from Quran, but it's a very significant thing. It's part of the belief.
Okay.
Right? And the last thing is that everything is from God.
Okay.
Even if it's painful or it's joyful, it's from God. Like I cannot punch you unless God do that.
Okay.
Not permits unless God allows that to happen. Permission is different than allowance.
Yeah. Okay. So there's what's the first one again?
That there's no God but Allah.
Okay. Right. And then the second one is the prophets.
Right. So I believe in all the prophets. That I know of from Quran or that I don't even know of.
Okay.
Right? But those prophets, they are not divine. They are human beings.
They're human beings.
They are not listening to my conversation. Right? Only God is listening to this conversation.
Yeah.
They don't interfere in this world.
Okay.
Right? And Muhammad is the final of those prophets.
Okay. And now we're just gonna go completely off topic again because I just remembered one thing.
Sure.
Apparently, I remembered one time there was this one prophet that God gave divine power to, and apparently that prophet gave God three questions, and God agreed with him. I don't know if you know who that prophet is. Does that mean that I don't even know? That's a random question, but it was apparently it was a prophet. I think I was watching a video on one of Mohammed's Hijab's videos, and how God or Ali Dawah. I don't know if you know. Yeah. So Ali.
Shout out to
yeah. So I was watching him, and then I think it was saying God agreed. Actually agreed with that prophet on 3 things. So does that mean that
2 and did not agree with 1?
Okay, I did. So does that mean that God already knew that and he said, yeah, you're correct? Or was it?
No, it's a request. So that was called dua, right?
Okay.
A dua is you ask something from God.
A dua?
Yeah.
Dua.
D-U-A. Yeah.
D-U-A?
Yeah.
Dua?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dua means that you ask God for something.
Okay.
In general, okay. So Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, asked God for 3 things. He requested God for 3 things.
Do we know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So number 1 was that, do not destroy my nation in like one destruction. So, for example, the people of Lot,
yeah,
right? They were destroyed in one destruction. Everybody was wiped out, right? Except the believers, right? Prophet
is Lot the Sodom and Gomorrah? No. Lot.
Yeah.
Really?
He's a prophet.
Oh.
So there are some things that are said in the present Bible about him that are not true. We don't believe because he's a prophet. He didn't do those things, right? So I don't know. Like, do you know, like, for example, are they claims like he got drunk and he did stuff with his daughters and things like that? Yeah.
Lot. What I know from Lot was Abraham's nephew.
Yeah.
Right. So what I know is that yes, that is true. That sometimes he would actually go against his uncle because of what his wife wanted.
So we don't believe that because he's a messenger of God, and messengers don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we believe that his wife was not a believer and she was destroyed as well.
Yeah.
But he did not do those things that were claimed in Bible.
Okay.
But they were not originally claimed. I guess somebody else put it in later on because we don't believe the prophets do that.
Okay.
So he's one of the prophets of God. So it's not perceivable for these people to do these things.
Okay.
Right.
And so Lot was that Sodom and Gomorrah, right? That's correct.
Yeah.
So that was wiped out all at once. I thought Abraham had to talk to God about.
Well, he did request it, but God said that this is a decree of God. They have been given enough time, and they'll be wiped out now, except the believers. Believers were all preserved.
Okay.
But there were very few.
Yeah, because I remember there was this one part where it said even angel Gabriel was with them, right?
Yeah. So he destroyed them. He wasn't like
and you couldn't turn around. And I heard that in the Bible it said that Lot's wife turned around, and that's why she got turned into salt.
She died and destroyed because she was not a believer.
So it wasn't because it doesn't matter. Like if you lived in the
that was showing that look, she's not following her husband. That was another manifestation of that, right? That look, you're not following your husband. Your husband is the messenger of God. He's telling you not to do something. Likewise, same thing. So it's just showing that how wrong these people were. Right? That even when destruction happened, they did not trust their relatives. You see that?
Yeah.
So before his husband is telling her not to do these wrong things and not to collaborate with the people who are doing these evil things, she's not listening. Even when it's last moment, people are being destroyed. Husband is telling you don't look at them if that's true, and then you're looking at them, right? Likewise, we know in Quran, Noah is telling his son, "Come to me in the ship." He's not trusting his father and coming into the ship. He's like, no, I'll go up on the mountains. So even to the last moment, these people are so that's another thing, right? Look, you did everything you could do for your relatives, but from even at the last moment, they're not following you, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that is another manifestation of their disobediences and their lack of trust in their own relatives. So those people definitely don't deserve to be in paradise.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So coming back to the Prophet Muhammad asked for 3 things, right?
Yeah.
One was that my nation does not get destroyed like in one destruction like that happened to these people.
Okay.
Right. And then the second thing he asked was forgot. We can look it up.
Okay.
So the third one that was not accepted was that my people should not fight with each other.
Okay.
Right? So my people should not fight with each other.
That as saying that God will control their free will? No, that sounds stupid, but...
No, let me just 1 second. I'm going to find it for you. Sure. Yeah, so that, you see Muslims fighting each other. Do you see that or no?
Do I see them fighting each other?
Yeah, Saudi and Yemen.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, they're fighting amongst each other, right?
Okay.
There's been many wars between a Muslim country and not a Muslim country.
Okay.
Right? Muslims killing each other.
Because I know like there's different beliefs like Shia.
It doesn't matter. Like that should not be happening, right?
Yeah.
So that was one thing that God did not accept. That this will continue.
Okay.
Right. So this should not happen, but it's not a protection that was given by God.
Okay. Are you Sunni?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So is there? I heard that there's this one thing called Shia.
Yeah.
And they believe in the Imam.
Yeah.
Imam. And so why do you not believe in the Imam? If I don't know what that is, I heard it's the 12 prophets.
Yeah. Okay.
Or 6 main prophets or something.
So first thing, look, I mean, the goal is what?
To know.
To follow God, right?
Yeah.
And to follow the way that Muhammad was taught us, right? So now that Shia stuff, there's a lot of political discussion around it. It came way after Prophet Muhammad, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of your beliefs and your action, you want to be as close to the disciples of the Prophet as possible.
Yeah.
This stuff itself came way after Prophet Muhammad.
Okay.
The Sunni means I'm following Prophet Muhammad. I'm following the way of the Prophet Muhammad. Now this Shia, it has some sort of political attributions, political alliances, and all that sort of stuff. So that's not part of the original Orthodox way that the Prophet Muhammad was living. That's essentially what it is. Okay. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, they have, again, everybody is different. Many lay Shia, they don't know the details of it, right? So some of them are like, they raise the Imam, as you said, right, to a very high level. So they would ask them for assistance instead of asking God.
Okay.
Some people do that to Prophet Muhammad, and this was also something that Prophet Muhammad taught us. He said that do not raise me like the Christians raise Jesus, because because prophets have their own levels. Their level is above regular human beings, but their level is way below God. Their influence is way below God. So you don't want to raise them and give them something that only belongs to God.
Okay.
Right. So that's what is in essence. So we were coming back to the tenets of faith. Right. So we're discussing. Remember that one God, books, Quran being the final book, Prophet Muhammad being the final messenger of God, and you believing in other messengers of God as well. And then you believe in the day of resurrection, right? That you'll be resurrected after death, and then there's paradise and hellfire, right?
Yeah.
And then everything that happens is from God. Nothing can happen, even painful, even good, cannot happen without God facilitating that, God allowing that to happen.
Okay. So does the Quran go past what paradise will happen? Like what will happen?
Yes. So there are things like Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay, yeah.
Candies, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna celebrate with how come you're not having the tea?
Okay. I just didn't want to be rude.
No, I'm drinking coffee. You can drink, no problem.
Okay.
So what were you saying?
So can
So Quran tells about paradise. There are different levels. You can eat whatever you want. You will never be bored. You meet God. You have a conversation with God, so on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. So is that and that's forever?
It's forever. There's no death after death.
That's fair enough. But I was just, it's only because say it puts it in our mind that there's always supposed to be something more. But is it like God will tell us everything from how He's eternal? Like, will He tell us all the truth about everything?
But it will become clear, right? You will see when you see the angel of death. You will start seeing things that are beyond the realm of this world, right? But will our knowledge be ever equal to the knowledge of God? That's part of human beings, our own deficiency, right? That we are certain things that we're not capable of getting. I mean, the knowledge of God, whatever you call it, that cannot be equal to that of God. That's what to human beings. Yeah, but I mean, the biggest thing would be that you'll be able to communicate and see God. Right? I think that's one of the biggest things we don't have right now is we can't see God. Even Moses did not see God. You know that, right? He wanted to see God. God got him on that mount, but he was not able to see God in this life. So that will be one of the greatest blessings, actually, to be able to see your God. Just imagine that and directly talk to Him.
So, do you believe that Moses ever sinned?
The prophets, they're all forgiven, right?
I mean, sin while they were a prophet.
So they may make certain things, right? And also, like a sin is a relative thing as well, right? Because in a sense that, look, I mean, the prophets are also held to a higher standard,
Mhm.
right? So those things, and for example, like, like even accidentally, let's say, killing a man, right? So that's something that happened, right? But then, God forgave him, right? So it's stuff like that. I mean, again, there are details to it, but in general, they don't commit sins in a sense of knowingly doing something that's disobedience to God.
Okay.
God may correct their sayings, God may correct their actions, but they don't commit a sin intentionally against God, and they're all forgiven, and they will be, in paradise.
Okay. Because, well, I don't even want to really get into that part, but it's more like, well, if a prophet did ever, like, if they ever committed a sin while they were a prophet knowingly, is that
they don't like
that's just not possible?
Yeah, the God has created them as such, right? That they don't. I mean, yeah. So but they don't knowingly disobey God.
Okay. So do you think it's because of the
God protects
situation?
them. God protects them, right?
Okay.
God protects them. That's part of the protection.
And that's how is that how he chooses who is the prophet?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, think about it, right? Because it's from God's mercy.
Yeah.
Right. It's by design as well. Right?
Yeah.
It's not that, okay, there's a competition happening and you get that and then you will become a prophet.
Yeah.
I mean, God knew who was going to be the prophet before we were all created, even before they were created. Right. So God has honored certain people.
Yeah.
I mean, God knows right now, like today, God already knows if you will ever become Muslim or not.
Yeah.
I don't know that. You don't know that, but God knows.
That's true.
But He will not impose it on you.
Yeah.
That's different, right? God knows, but He will not impose it on you. Like He will not prevent you from becoming Muslim. And you can only become Muslim if God welcomes you into it.
Okay.
And God will always welcome you if you are sincere. Because God is not. Because if God prevents you from becoming Muslim and you're a sincere person, then it's kind of like being unjust, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know those, so you don't know, right? So what we are accountable for is to take the action. But from the perfection of God, He already knows what's going to happen.
Yes. So do you think?
So you won't become Muslim because of me. You won't become Muslim because of you. First and foremost, it will be the mercy of God. Yeah. And it's the mercy of God. That's why you're here today.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could also be chilling and watching Netflix. Right?
Yeah. So do you think ever since, for example, since Adam and Eve ate the fruit of like the fruit of
tree,
the fruit of the tree of knowledge?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's the tree of knowledge, but
or or the tree of the sin, or like, do you think that was already obviously God already knew that would happen, but do you think that's what He wanted? Like, so He could, because if we're His creation, right? For example, is this a way for Him to test us, to test ourselves?
It's a way for us to be tested, and I mean, God does not need to test us.
Yeah.
But if He doesn't test us, and He said, yeah, you're going to hellfire, you're going to paradise because I know what you would have done, that would be a case, quote unquote, against Him, right? People would say, oh, if you would have given me a chance, I wouldn't have done that. But right now, there's no excuse, right?
Yeah.
It's like, imagine, like, you go, it's like, yeah, you know what, you can study as much, I know you're not going to pass it, I'm just going to fail you.
Okay, so do you think if Adam and Eve didn't eat the fruit, it would have been eternal paradise ever since then?
Yeah. But I mean, again, you have to remember that everything that happens is by the permission of God. That's how God wanted it to be as well.
Yeah.
So it would have happened.
That's true.
What happened could not have been prevented.
Yeah.
What happened could not have been prevented. Anything that has happened could not have been prevented because that's how God wanted it to be.
Okay.
The question is, are we appreciated for that, or are we blamed for that?
Okay.
So that's very important, right? So at that time, they were blamed for eating the fruit from the tree, but then they sought forgiveness and they were forgiven. So there's no sin on them today.
Okay.
Right? So there's no sin. So you can commit a sin and you can become as clean as if nothing has happened. That's also possible from the mercy of God.
Yeah.
That's very important to remember.
Yeah. Okay, so
all these details, that's what I'm saying. Isn't it perfect that you have that sort of deeper understanding of how things work from Quran?
Yeah.
It's a very clean belief system. Right? So it's not convoluted, it's not confusing, it's like clear. You can ask and ask and ask, and you'll see clear principles around it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I appreciate you talking to me for right now. I definitely learned a lot more stuff, especially it being more clean slated versus, especially growing up, it was always more difficult because as humans, we are in a difficult world.
Yes.
It's very complicated.
Yeah, it's not a perfect world, right?
It's not a perfect
Paradise
world.
is perfect.
Exactly. But you see, for a lot of people, they don't even, especially in my heritage, like from me, I've been where I've been, it's more like everything's just mixed up to the point where it has to be hard or it's not possible. So for me, what I mean by that is you never had a one universal answer. So everything just has to be hard because, well, you can't get anything easy, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, easy is what God makes easy, right?
Yeah.
So that's very important. Like, again, that's what I'm saying. A lot of the concepts are okay, but you have to have that middle ground on that. So if you take it too extreme, then it becomes egoistic, right? I mean, like, for example, like, what did you do to be in Canada and comfortable as opposed to someone in a remote place where they don't even have clean drinking water? Wasn't it easy?
It was my choice, I guess.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, if they also want to have clean water, they also want to be here, but they're not able to.
Yeah.
So God facilitate that for your environment, from your parents and what have you. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them, right? I mean, many people don't have the luxury to be able to sit and sip clean water and not even a lot of drinks and have a chat.
Yeah.
They're probably working in the heat.
So do you think it's like is it switched where the people who God sees more potential in?
No. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Somebody's worldly life can be easy, and that person could be like way far from God. Somebody's worldly life could be hard, but they're way closer to God. So your comfort level in this world is not an indication of God loving you or not. What's an indication is that how much faith you have, how much connection of God that you have. That's an indication.
Okay. So, okay, that makes sense. It's just how God wills it, right?
Yes. So, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? Because what matters is if you make it to paradise. Because even though you lived in luxury, right, and that luxury distracted you from God, you started thinking, I am God, right?
Yeah.
And I have everything. I'm self-sufficient, and you start thinking that you're not dependent on God.
Yeah.
And that took you to hellfire. What's the point of this luxury? And if you didn't having the luxury actually humbled you, and because you didn't have that, and you were not distracted by the wealth, and you worshiped God and you submitted to God, and you had a higher level of connection with God, and you made up to a higher rank of paradise, right? At the same time, you could also be rich and luxurious, but then you use that to help other people and to worship God. So then that's also good. And you can be like poor and deprived of the luxuries, but then you start hating yourself and you start cursing your God. So I'm saying that just by having luxuries or not having luxuries is not an indication of God's love for you or not.
Yeah. Do you think the way how you think right now, do you still think you have sins in your minds at least?
Nobody's perfect. You won't become angels.
Yeah.
No one is perfect.
No.
And as for you to think like that, it actually is a sin.
Exactly. Which is why I say let's say I did get to paradise somehow, which is
so that's part of true. You will not be able to get to paradise except by the mercy of God.
Exactly.
Because you're not earning it. You can't do enough. Like, you can't even do enough to thank for one eye.
Yeah.
Right? Let alone everything else.
Yeah. So again, I get that too. But do you think maybe if you're not what you think, but
so okay. So what I'm telling you, I'm telling you from Quran and the Hadith, right?
Yeah.
If I don't know of something, I say I don't know, or I have this in my thing, but I'm not confident. So that's just want to make sure that I present that.
Yeah, because let's say, like, obviously by the will of God, if He wants you to be in eternal paradise, then He will will it.
Yeah.
Right. But for example, let's say your mind you're willing to submit to God. You do submit to God. You pray 5 times a day. You do this, but let's say it's just natural, not like let's say you're.
No, this will come in like Satan will whisper. Your own desires will whisper.
Even in paradise.
No, not in paradise.
Okay.
No, it won't happen in paradise.
Okay, and I know that in paradise you won't be bored. You'll be able to do anything you want. You could.
So you'll be entertained. You can have
go to the beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything. Anything. Whatever your
skydive.
Yeah. Ma tashtahi anfusukum. You will have whatever your souls desire.
Okay. What do you want?
What do I want?
Yeah.
Right now, inshallah, my wish is for us both to be hanging out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what you want right now. Okay, let's see if God wills it. if we do get there, what's the first thing you want to do?
Right now, I guess maybe go jet skiing.
Jet skiing? Where?
No, what in a beach at paradise?
Okay. Okay. For me, I guess maybe I'd just be in more shock. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I'd just be more shocked, but it's not like I don't know. It's a weird thing to say, especially when you haven't even reached it yet. But it's just saying, well, if this is eternal and this is eternal happiness and this is what's going to be happening forever, and you can do anything that your mind, because is your mind infinite in terms of creativity, in terms of, let's say, if you can do anything, you can do anything. So is that in itself infinite? You know what I mean? So let's say today you want to do jet skiing, and for the next eternity, you can do anything.
Yeah.
So you know. So let's say there's not even things.
You can devise your own experience.
Yeah. So it doesn't even have to be jet skiing. What if it's like jet skiing on like a beach of bubbles?
Yeah.
You know, like creating your own.
You know. Create your own adventure.
Yeah, you're right. Like that's what I would rather like think about. Like, okay, you know what? Today I'm not regular jet skiing. That's for humans, you know.
Yeah.
I'd rather
you can ask Allah to give you a different, see, you can just ask, right?
Mm.
So you don't even have to think. Say, okay, give me a different experience today.
Yeah.
Okay. You can as I said, like you'll have whatever you want, right?
And you'll have more energy.
Yeah, you'll have way more energy.
I'm tired right now. I'm so tired right now.
Yeah,
especially, you're working every day. It's hard right now, man.
Yeah.
Especially, I know your mind must be, especially working for where you work, it must be different levels, right? Yeah. Wow. I mean, thank you for the talk so much.
Yeah. So let's do the shahada, man.
Okay.
That's it. Okay, so we gotta say Arabic first. English first?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because the Arabic one's going to take a little...
No.
Listen to the Arabic first. Because I know that's going to be a little more harder.
Okay. No, because I think English is good because then you know what you're saying, right? Actually, yeah. So, I testify... that there is... no God... worthy of worship... except Allah... and I testify... that Muhammad... is a servant... and messenger of Allah...
and
the final messenger of Allah... and I testify... that Jesus... is a servant... and also a messenger of Allah...
Is that it?
That's it. So if you believe that, so you're saying I testify, right? It means I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're verbalizing it.
Yeah.
Okay? I can't go in your heart.
Okay.
Right? I can only go by what you're saying.
Okay.
Right? So if you die today, let's say after we say this thing and you die today, right? Because I don't know what's in your heart, but what I saw is that you have Islam.
Yeah.
I can then say, oh Allah, grant Gabriel paradise.
Okay.
Right?
And would I?
If I don't see that happening.
If you don't see that happening?
Yeah, if I don't see you verbalizing this.
Verbalizing it. Okay.
Right? I can't say to Allah, oh Allah, grant him paradise.
Okay.
Right? Allah may still grant you paradise. I can't say because I don't know what was happening. Because I can only say up until what you are disclosing.
Okay.
I don't have to go into your heart.
So are you like a gatekeeper? Like if you
No.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do between you going to paradise or not.
Yeah.
I'm saying from a human perspective.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Yeah, because
okay.
Like for example, like for example, Prophet Mohammed would not make dua of going to paradise for his parents. Like one of the things that you do for each other is you make dua that, okay, my brother, I want him to go to paradise. Allah forgive him. Allah have mercy on him. Right when the person dies.
Yeah.
But you only do that for people who are believers.
Okay.
You can't do that for disbelievers.
Okay.
And you don't know. There's this thing. Somebody could die as a believer. I just didn't know, right? And I may think of someone to be a believer, and he may die as a disbeliever. I just didn't know.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that we only act based on what we know.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just do it in Arabic then.
Okay.
Ashhadu
an
la ilaha illa Allah. So this is the first part. Ashhadu means I testify.
Okay.
And that. La, no. Ilaha, God. So there's no God in truth. Illa, except Allah.
Okay.
So that's the first part we said. Wa ashhadu
an
Muhammad Abdullahi wa rasuluh. Okay, so wa rasuluh. Very good.
Okay.
Wa ashhadu an Muhammad. Okay, we did that. Wa ashhadu an Isa Abdullahi wa rasuluh. Go, man.
So what does Abdu?
So that's you saying the second part, that I testify that Muhammad is the servant and messenger of God.
Okay.
And that Isa, Jesus, is a servant and messenger.
So that's his name in Arabic.
Isa, yeah.
Isa?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so
that's it.
That's
from the perspective of you. This is the first pillar of Islam, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That statement is so heavy.
Yeah.
Anybody who said this statement with sincerity in their heart will get to paradise.
Mm.
So we know that from a narration that there's a man that will come on the day of judgment.
Mm.
And a scale will be set for everybody, right?
Yeah.
On one side of the scale, you'll have all your bad deeds.
Mm-hmm.
So this man will see all his bad deeds on that scale.
Yeah.
Right? Huge number of bad deeds.
Mm.
Pages, right?
Yeah.
And then God will ask him, do you have any good deed? He said, no. But then a card will be brought, a small card.
Mm.
It will be placed on the right side, on the side of good deeds.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what is this card going to do compared to all the other best I've done, right?
Yeah.
God will say something to the effect that you will not be wronged. So even if it's a small thing, it will be brought.
Mm-hmm.
That small card
mm-hmm.
will topple, will take over, would be heavier than all the bad deeds he had. That small card would have the statement that you just pronounced. Because he said it sincerely. Right? Because someone may have all these things, but he's sincere to God, he's repenting, he's just struggling, he's overall a good guy. So the point is that this statement is the heaviest statement because it's the truest statement on this planet.
Yeah.
God is the one who's the creator, who's the sole owner, who's the sole person, one in charge of this planet.
Okay. Well.
So now that you have realized the path to God, you still have to walk the path.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like me saying, hey, you know what? Here's a ticket to Niagara Falls, all paid vacation. You can just go there. You can relax. You can order as much food as you like. Right?
But I just have to go there.
You have to go there.
Yeah.
Right? So while you're driving there, somebody may stop you. And you may say, I want to go and enjoy a bit at Tim Hortons. I'm going to do this. I want to work. I want to do this. This. No. So if you get there, yeah, you can do that. So you have realized the path. You have a direction to it.
But
now you have to make effort to go there. Right?
Okay.
So you have to be truth to what you said. You said God is worthy of worship, right?
Yeah.
That means God wants you to what? Pray 5 times a day. Right? Your soul may like, I just want to sleep, relax, watch Netflix, chill, hang out. Okay. So you can follow your God that you said is worthy of worship, or you can worship your own soul.
Okay.
That's very important, right?
Okay.
So that's what we're gonna work for. We're gonna obviously share the good news with Rayan. Maybe we should call him. Let's see who's around. Yeah, I can call him on WhatsApp.
Okay.
And try calling him.
Yeah, he's right here.
Yeah, maybe he'll pick up.
Yeah,
he'll live on the call.
Yeah. Wow. So wait. So what are the times to pray?
Yeah. So I'll show you all that now. Good stuff. Okay, guys, big dua for our new brother, Gabriel.
There you go, man. I know.
What time is it there?
It should be around nighttime soon.
Yeah, maybe like midnight or something.
Midnight. I don't know. Rayan's kind of like a night owl, so let's see.
Well, I mean, yeah. I'm sure he's had a long day.
Yeah, he has long days.
Oh, here you go. Rayan.
Rayan.
Hey. Your friend just took Shahada.
How's it going? I'm doing good, man.
He just took the Shahada. He just recited the first kalima, the first statement of Islam. And we are also live on YouTube. We're also live on YouTube. Brothers, this is Rayan. He's the guy who introduced us to Gabriel. So make sure that the friends that you have, you also introduce them to Islam and keep sharing. All right, talk to him.
Hey, man.
You know this is Hassan Usman's office, right? You recognize it?
Oh.
Reconnecting.
You're connecting.
Can you hear us?
Wait, brother. Can you please repeat that again?
Okay, you tell him that.
Apparently, I said the Shahada.
He just said the Shahada. He has become Muslim, and we are in Hassan Usman's office, and we are also live on YouTube. Look at that, man.
I know.
May Allah reward you, bro. I accept from you. He's crying.
He's crying?
Yeah. I'll give him a hug from you, man.
I know. Is he crying?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say.
I think, man, you said the right thing. Allahu Akbar, right? God is greatest.
Wow.
So how are things? When are you coming back? When are you coming back?
Inshallah, I'll be back my winter break.
Okay, December.
December. Yeah.
So maybe we're gonna send him there, right?
Yeah, we're gonna send him.
Gabriel needs to be shipped there for 4 months.
Yeah, shipped there for 4 months, man. It's my turn now.
I'm lost. I'm lost for words right now. What happened?
Oh. So we have been chatting like since like what so right now it's 4:30 p.m. in Canada. Actually, I'll send you a link. It's all recorded. It's all of our conversation. So he came here, we prayed Dawah, and then we started chatting. So it's been like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, been 2.5 hours. It's been a lengthy conversation. Lengthy conversation.
And we have been chatting in WhatsApp before as he connected us. And alhamdulillah, he took the courage. He took the step.
There we go.
So it's done.
Yeah, it's not done, right? We are all alive. So the test is not over. At least we have taken the first step.
Alhamdulillah, what I mean is, alhamdulillah,
yes,
he's our brother now.
Yes, he's a brother in Islam, man.
Gabriel, man, where did this come from? You've been talking to me so like neutrally and like.
I know, bro. I had to at least figure it out myself, you know. I had to figure it out myself. That's why. So.
And so you understand whatever I was telling you, what Brother Zubair was telling you, and everything, and.
Yeah, I get it, and that's the thing. I'm still on that journey. I'm still on that journey of learning and trying to figure this out. If God is my end result, then He will see my sincerity, just wanting to know Him. So if this is the path I have to take, then.
So now you're a Muslim brother now, huh?
I guess so, man. I guess so, man. Let's just see how I do. Let's just see how I do from now on. I just want you to do your best too, man. I just want you to do your best. I know that you're going good with your studies now. You know, so I hope you're doing the best with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I hope that you know all your brothers. I know. I'm sorry. I know. I was keeping away from you. I was keeping away from you now.
No, it's good though. As long as whatever you believe in and everything, as long as you just keep straight and keep on that path,
yeah,
Allah will help you, inshallah.
Thanks, man. No.
What time is it right now?
May Allah keep you steadfast in your belief, and may Allah give you more knowledge in the deen, and may Allah guide you to the path of Islam.
Thank you, brother.
Alhamdulillah.
Thanks, man.
But this is the best news of God.
No problem. Alhamdulillah. I mean, it's good. I mean, what I was saying that look, we believe that Gabriel would have been Muslim with or without us for sure, right? He would have been Muslim without us too. But it's good that God chose us to be on His path to the truth. So it has nothing to do with you and me, but it's a favor of God that He used us to be on this path, right? Because even if we would not have met Him, He would have become Muslim, right?
Yeah.
But it's good that God chose us to be on His path.
Subhanallah. Inshallah. Okay, so Jazakallah, and honestly, to take this in because this is amazing.
I know, man.
I've been telling him this for the past how many years?
4 years, you assist. We were just talking about you.
Yeah, man.
I've been, just telling himself about it. And alhamdulillah, this was basically a day that I was waiting for. And it was just like my niyyah that may Allah guide at least one person from me. Because our job in this dunya is to bring people to the path of Allah and to show them what the truth is. And subhanAllah, Allah chose me as in His way and in the path of Allah that I became a source of guidance for you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks you, man.
So I don't know. Alhamdulillah, this is the best thing I heard. And I just don't know what to say. SubhanAllah. Just you on the deen and gain more knowledge and just keep you. SubhanAllah.
Thank you, man.
And Jazakallah khair, Brother Zubair, as well. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, for the introduction.
Mm-hmm.
SubhanAllah, man.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Wow, man. So how's it over there?
You give to Gabriel from me from my behalf, okay?
Okay.
Of course.
So what's the plan now?
The plan now is just me learning. Right now it's just me learning. Especially I have different things going on in my life too. It's me just trying to incorporate this. This is just a new beginning for me. I just hope that God wills it to be.
Yeah. Obviously, I tell you all this stuff, but just to say again that you understand what you've gotten into, right? It's not like something now you become our Muslim with, all that stuff. So I just want you to understand all that stuff.
Yeah.
And inshallah, whether Zubair is there soon. Inshallah. Maybe come visit me here.
Yeah, we should send. Can you? Yeah. So right now you're like November, right? So you just like got one more month there. Hopefully, we'll try to see to get you the scholarship as well. You can spend some time there as well. It's gonna be tougher life in Canada.
It's tougher life in Canada.
Those Al-Khawthar course, Al-Khawthar Institute.
Yeah.
There's a course coming up soon. And maybe Gabriel can, if you find some time, maybe you could just visit that to learn some more and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna inform you of that. And all their courses are free for new Muslims, by the way. So I'll let him know about that.
Yeah. Okay, inshallah. Yeah. So I'll ask from. You already probably know you guys are there. I don't know when exactly the date.
No, yeah. We have the poster right there actually. Yeah, we have the poster in the masjid. Yeah, I know about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, of course. So alhamdulillah. So maybe if he has time, you can take some time to learn. And subhanallah, man, Gabriel, you're my best. This is what I've been trying to tell you and everything, and now for the bottom of my heart, Allahu Akbar, and I love you, man. I
love you too, man.
You're our brother now.
Yeah, man. So how's it over there? Like, is it nighttime right now?
Yeah, it's night. It's 11:30.
Wow.
p.m.
Wow. Okay. I knew it. So what are you gonna do now? Like, I didn't even know you were gonna pick up.
No, I was just studying a little bit, and I saw your call, and I saw about this weird call, so I was a little,
because I don't call him, right?
Yeah.
It was surprising. I was a little surprised, I was like, wait, what's going on? man, this is a big, man. I still need time to take it, and I'm getting emotional.
I don't know. I guess I have to be next now. I can't hold the food. I know.
All right, we're gonna give the adhan for Asr right now. Actually.
Don't worry, man. Everything's a lot here.
Oh yeah. He was telling me about it. He's like, yeah, Ryan is just like diving in all the food now.
I know. Okay, I'm gonna save it for the trip. Maybe around next year. Next year is probably a goal for me, if that's fine. Next year's a goal for me.
Actually, like.
But yeah, we'll talk about that. But,
yeah, we'll see.
So it's a lot of time for you now?
Yeah, we'll give the adhan now, and then we'll pray in 15 minutes, inshallah. Mm-hmm. So that's gonna be his first prayer.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's get ready for it.
This is something truly amazing and something I've always wanted to do in my life. And Jazakallah khair for giving me such great news and helping me in one of my dreams to like help someone and help, because if a person, of course, like the person is a path on their friends, right?
Yes.
The person is on the path of friends. So I've always just tried, with the help of Allah, tried to give as much things I could to my friend, and alhamdulillah, Allah has guided him, and this is truly the best thing that could possibly be in this world.
Okay, may Allah accept it from all of us and keep us all steadfast.
May Allah accept from you, and may Allah keep you steadfast and keep you firm upon this new journey of yours, and help you just gain more knowledge and keep you firm. I would say that. And subhanAllah, this is huge, man.
I'm so sorry about that, bro.
I wanted this, and I was thinking maybe inshallah, I'm gonna take my time with this, and maybe when I come back by winter, I might keep on, telling him more stuff about it. So if he gets more interested, maybe he wants to look into Islam and becoming Muslim or something. So I was thinking about that when I was coming back. But subhanAllah, you gave me such a big surprise that all of a sudden, you found the way, you found the light, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you guidance and gave you the path of righteousness. And while I was gone, so Allah alhamdulillah has blessed me with this, and I truly thank him for everything, and I ask him the best.
You can hear the Abu Huraira adhan?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, here's Hassan Baba.
Assalamualaikum. How are you, man? I missed you, bro. You still good, alhamdulillah?
Yusuf is here.
Good, alhamdulillah.
Assalamualaikum, bro. How are you? How's everything, man?
His longtime friend just took the shahada, so he's very excited.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you, man.
That's it, man. Now it's feeling more real, huh?
Yeah. Okay, so you have to. So are we gonna introduce him to the Jama'ah on Friday?
If he wants to.
Let's see. Let's take it one step at a time. It's a new experience.
If you want to meet your new brothers on Friday, it's going to be a really nice atmosphere.
You can even introduce right now after the prayer. We'll just say you're just to the shahada. We get a bunch of hugs. We'll do it after Asr, a mini version of it, and then we'll introduce him to the bigger crowd on Friday if he wants to.
Whatever you will do from now on, just keep me posted, please, because I just want to see this phase. Since I'm not there, I've been dreaming of this phase, so just keep me posted. Like whatever you do, like after Asr or Jummah or whatever you guys are doing, just like 1 or 2 messages or here and there. And Gabriel, keep me posted every day, okay?
All right, bro. I'll try my best. Yeah, but of course, man, this is all about learning experience as well. You know what I mean? This is for me. Like, I'll do my best, and honestly, I think I can still do this. But at the same time, it's not going to be straight off push to the end. You know, it's going to be rocky. It's going to be rocky, especially just starting. I have like bare minimum knowledge. You know.
You've taken this path, and this journey isn't going to be easy, as like all things aren't in life. But inshallah, now if you strive for success, and if you strive for gaining knowledge and gaining the truth, and inshallah Allah will help you with all of your things. If you have the right intention of learning and having the truth, then inshallah Allah will make it easy for you to get that, and to get the success that you want, and to get the satisfaction of religion and God in your life.
All right, thank you, man.
Okay, so we're gonna get ready for his first prayer, inshallah.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
Let's see how
Signing
that goes.
off.
Okay, inshallah. So you guys can go. Lots of du'as from me, and may Allah bless you, and just
Okay.
Alhamdulillah, man. Come on.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, guys. All right. Take care, man. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, man. Bye, man. Turn off. There we go.
End the live.
All right, man. There we go. Okay, so you have to